Good morning, Canada. Welcome back to the question period. Today is Budget Day, November 4th, 2025. The last day where the sun goes up, because it's going to be dark days after this. The darkest of days. I hope everyone's ready to witness the fall of Canadian land because, well, we're about to go bankrupt. At least that's kind of what we're thinking, because in the past with a liberal government, we've had deficits after deficits after deficits. Hey, you know what? We're going to get out of all of, the deficits by, you guessed it, increasing the deficit. And now we've got this like messiah guy, this banker guy who's supposed to be able to fix things. And his plan is increase the deficit. But hey, it's like best investments for Canada ever. I don't know if you guys checked the stock market today, but it's not doing too good in Canada. So yeah, there's a lot to take a look at today. It's a very exciting day for all the wrong reasons. We know we're going to get angry. We know we're going to get angry, but we're still going to watch it because that's life in Canada. We get angry, but we still keep pushing forward. Anyways, we got a lot of stuff to take a look at. There's a lot of analysts that are thinking they know what's going to happen. So we're going to take a look at what mainstream media has to say. We got some time to kill before question period starts. The actual budget gets tabled about 10, 11, 12, about 3 hours from now. So we've got question period to get through. We've got a little bit of time to kill after QP. We're going to keep it going. We're going to keep the train going. And then finally, we're going to find our way to the budget. But the reason why this is such a big deal is it could trigger an election. And I think we might be heading into an election. At least there's very good reason to believe we're heading into election. And that's not me saying it. That's actually the liberals saying it. They keep saying if the Conservatives turn down the budget, they are putting Canadians into an election before Christmas, around Christmas. So that's kind of scary because we know that Pierre's not going to support the budget. Like, it's the opposition's job to not support the budget, to say, hey, you should be doing better. So by default, we know that's going to happen. We know that Quebecers are going to say, there's not enough for Quebec. We want more for Quebec. And they don't care. They'll do an election every day. We don't care. We don't care. Do an election every day. So now it all stems on the NDP. We've gone full circle from last year to now. Remember that NDP Liberal Coalition, Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau, KISSING? Yeah. So that's kind of what's happening right now is the NDP holds the cards. Now, they can do one of three things. They can deny the budget, vote it down, which would then trigger an election. They can support the budget, which would mean the Liberals get approved for a tremendous amount of spending and we don't have an election. Or they can abstain from voting, which could just mean that the budget passes. I don't know. It depends how other people vote. So there's either an election or not an election. It's kind of a coin toss right now. It's up in the air. The NDP's already postured themselves to make it seem like they are not going to be supporting the budget because, I mean, if we had to put a number on it, we would have to say that we're probably looking at like $100 billion worth of spending in this budget. Like, that's insane. Absolutely insane. Thank you. my wife just passed me a coffee and some breakfast. So that looked awkward if I was like reaching back like this. That's because she was trying to stay off camera. Thank you. It's going to be a long day. So she's trying to make sure that I'm well nourished, ready to go for this. So yeah, election or not an election, that is what we are facing today. All I ask in return, this could be a long stream, one of the longer streams that we've done. All I ask in return is for you guys to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and brace yourself because chances are today is going to suck a lot, tremendously. Whether it gets approved it means that we're spending a shit ton more money. And whether it gets denied, it means we're heading potentially like 99% into an election. So I'm just politically exhausted. Can I say that? Do you feel that way? Like I'm so politically exhausted. Does anyone share that sentiment? Like I don't want an election. I want to reverse the previous election that we had. I honestly don't know what an election would look like right now, like who would win, who would gain more seats, lose more seats. I know a lot of people in the comments that watch my videos are thinking like Pierre would win. I mean, yeah, like I hope so. But right now, the most triggering issue in Canada is Donald Trump. And even though the Liberals are dropping the ball on failing to actually get a good deal or even continue trade talks with America, the best fear mongers in the country are the Liberals. And so I honestly don't know if there were an election next week from now, what the outcome would be. I would love to sit here and tell you that like the Conservatives would win more seats, but I don't know. I don't know right now. Is that okay that I don't know? Because I'm just politically exhausted. Like I'm tired of the state of Canada. I'm tired of expensive groceries. These eggs are probably $4 each. Like I don't know. It's so tiring right now. I just want life to be better. I want to not have to worry about money. I want to just live my life, take my family on vacations, and not worry about money. Not worry about like, well, hey, listen, honey, we're getting some fruit on this grocery run. We got some bananas. We got some strawberries. I don't know if we can actually afford to get those oranges this week. Maybe next week. Like that's the state of Canada right now. Like it's weird. It's shitty. It's horrible. It's gross. And now we're going to vote for more of it. Not you, not me, but like people in Canada like want it to get worse because I don't know, propaganda. So I'm politically exhausted. I'm tired. I have like a permanent headache of just the state of Canada right now. Because it sucks. It's not the Canada that I remember growing up in. Even like 6-7 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, it like wasn't this bad. And I don't know if it's going to get better. And so now we're at a crossroads. Is it going to get worse or substantially worse? I don't know. I'm a little nervous, but hey, enough blabbering and stuff. All right. Enough blabbering. Let's get into this video. My palms are sweaty. Like, actually, they're a little sweaty right now. I'm nervous. I'm nervous about today. Just like I was nervous about the election. You remember that? Who was nervous about that federal election that took place? Holy crap. I was chain smoking. So I probably smoked a pack of cigarettes on that stream. I was just so freaking nervous. And it didn't go the way any of us wanted, or any of us that are watching the stream wanted. And I feel like today might be similar. I don't like getting the heebie-jeebies, but here we go, folks. Here we go. We're going to take a look here at what's potentially going to happen with this budget. Let's have a look.
Sandy, the specter of a so-called austerity budget has been floating around ever since the Prime Minister used the word back in September. Today, the Finance Minister's office would only say it's an investment budget when I asked if it was still fair to say austerity. In the pre-budget day new shoe buying tradition, the finance minister got hands-on at a factory, underlining build Canadian, buy Canadian.
The budget tomorrow is all about, it's an investment budget. It's a generational shift.
The government now only stressing investment.
C'est un budget d'austérité et d'investissement.
While in early September, just in French, Mark Carney also said austerity. Late October, a reference to sacrifices.
We won't transform our economy easily or in a few months. It will take some sacrifices.
Pounced on by opposition.
All our young Conservatives are fighting for homes, jobs, and hope, and they refuse to sacrifice their future.
We will not support an austerity approach.
There will be big spending in that budget, which goes against, I think, the logic of austerity. So there is a kind of tension here.
Desjardins economists predict the deficit will hit $75 billion.
I don't think you can characterize a $75 billion deficit as an austerity austerity budget or austerity deficit.
There are obviously unanswered questions about just what is getting cut. Public service jobs most discussed, and the government has also promised to maintain some big ticket programs and spend more on defense.
Austerity will mean different things to different people, and those who are most impacted will see the austerity. You can see public servants who are going to be impacted will view this as an austerity budget. The unions will view this as an austerity budget.
The Liberals are just 3 seats shy of a majority, meaning they need some help from opposition parties in order to pass this budget in the confidence vote ahead or risk heading to an election. Sandy?
Oh my goodness. And the risk of going into a election has been, that's not like Fugazi. That's like the Liberals are saying, if this budget doesn't get approved, then an election is being forced. And so we're going to know in a few hours, man, if we're actually heading into another election. And it's just been so stressful since the last one. Ever since Trudeau resigned. Like, can I say this? I haven't thought this through. So this is a very raw thought, okay? Don't judge me. But can we say that not we, but I kind of miss a little bit the Justin Trudeau era. Stay with me. Not because Trudeau was so good, but because he was so easily disliked. And it was so, there was everybody, Americans, Italians, people in Nigeria probably hated Justin Trudeau. Like the world hated Trudeau. He was an international villain. And that's when the Conservatives polling was at its highest. And I miss those days because it was so obvious that we needed change. Remember, 99% likely for the Conservatives to have a majority government and 99% likely for the Conservatives to have the most seats. Like that was in the polls. Like it was true. Like Nanos, Ecos, Pothos, Thanos, every polling station, everyone knew that Trudeau was like done. And I miss those days because it was so easy to shit on him. And I'm not saying it's difficult to shit on Mark Carney, but he just won an election and we're heading into like potentially another one. And I feel like I don't want to live in the past for too long. And maybe I just need to vent a little bit because I feel like we're heading into an election and it's resurfacing all of the previous election emotions. But like, I don't think I got that closure from Trudeau. You know, like I wanted him to be voted off the island. I wanted him to lose on election night. And the fact that he brought in a pinch hitter and then they won that election off of fear of Trump and stuff, it just drives me nuts because I'm like, I'm feeling that again is happening. And it sucks because they're outmaneuvering all of their competition. Liberals are literally outmaneuvering everybody. And they're not doing it in ethical ways. Like they're lying, they're fear mongering. Carney brags one day about texting Trump, being on good terms with Trump. And then the next day says our relationship is over with them as we know it. And we're going to stick it to them. And we're going to run these Ronald Reagan manipulated ads. And it's just like, it's an emotional roller coaster. And I feel like I don't want to say I'm the victim of this, but I feel like I'm being taken a fool by the media. Like they put out something that's like, it's the end of relationships with America. And it's like, haha, yeah, we knew it. And then the next day, everything's fine between Trump and Carney. It's like, what the fuck is really going on? Like, it's so flip-floppy. Yeah, anyways, I'm just venting. But I miss the days where we knew that, like, if Trudeau ran in that election, we had it in the bag. Conservatives had it in the bag. And because it feels like we're heading into another election, I'm just getting like a little nervous. Not cold feet, just a little nervous. Anyways, folks, maybe you feel the same way. Maybe I just sound like a pussy. I don't know.
Prime Minister Mark Carney's government is set to unveil its first budget today, with Finance Minister Francois-Philippe Champagne saying the budget will offer generational investments and something for all Canadians.
Joining us live this morning for more on what to expect is National Globe Trade Leader with EY Canada, Sylvain Gouls. Sylvain, I understand you're going to be going into the lockup this morning, so you get a first-hand look at the budget before the rest of us do. But what are you going to be looking for in the budget today when you consider this ongoing trade and tariff war that we've been talking to you about for pretty much most of this year? So much uncertainty. I think a lot of Canadians wonder, how do you budget when you don't know what the numbers could be on with the biggest trading partner we have?
Yeah, no, so thanks for having me. Good morning, both. Quite right, Nick, right? We've talked a few times the last few months, and sort of we've come a long way, but in many ways we're at the same place. So to your question, what we're expecting in the budget today, I think there have been lots of, a lot of it's been socialized, I feel comfortable saying. So I think key for me and for many observers is attracting investment in Canada. We absolutely need to do as much as we possibly can in this moment and beyond to attract investment dollars to Canada. That's really going to help our producers, our manufacturers, our employers, and our businesses succeed and develop, and we're going to attract new startups and new entrepreneurship, which I think we really, really need in this moment. Whether or not that helps us overnight decouple from the U.S. from a trading relationship perspective, I think isn't so much the idea. I think that's going to take some time. That's a strategy that's working its way sort of through the system, if I could say it that way. But first things first, budget, we really need to improve our competitiveness, attract investment dollars, and the trade enabling infrastructure projects and discussion points, I think also critically important for me today.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and Sylvain, we understand that, capital investment, making our country more attractive to outside investors is definitely a long-term solution and might not offer overnight relief, but many Canadians, some that we're asking today on our show, are worried about the here and now. Things are getting expensive. They want to see relief. Is there a fix for this? Can the government do both at the same time, or is it just kind of right now we're focused on the long term?
Yeah, great question. Hard to know, right? We'll have to see. I think it is complicated. There's a balancing act here. I think for Canadians that are already impacted by some of the trade war and the tariffs, and for those that may still be, I think all the packages, the sort of business subsidies, different programs available to workers who may need to reskill, retrain, I think those are critically important. Also part of today's announcements, we expect. So I think it all goes together. The team. Carney, those around him that are working so hard on these negotiations, I think they're dialed in, they're focused. They know that we need to do things differently going forward, but we also need to figure out this relationship regionally, and there's no way getting around that. So I think they're focused on all the right things. It's going to take some time. We know we've got some critical weeks and months ahead of us. We'll have to wait and see how they succeed. But first things first with the budget, I think, really important announcements today, things we've been waiting to see unveiled for some time now, and hoping it's a positive outcome.
Yeah, and we don't know that much, quite frankly. We haven't had the sort of typical pre-budget either blatant leaks or just sort of, here's what's going to be in it. This is what you're going to hear come, Tuesday afternoon. We haven't heard that, Sylvain. I was really intrigued by what you said in your first answer there about, decoupling from the United States. Do many of your clients want to do that? Because, just proximity alone and size of market, that's got to be so appealing on the one side, but then on the flip side, just this whole tumultuous situation with, President Trump here. I wonder how tricky this has been for your clients, advising them and saying, it's the United States, it's a massive market, but also tariffs and Trump and trouble.
Yeah, I can't think of any clients who want to decouple, let's be clear. It's been a successful trading relationship for many, many years, and I think most clients, most stakeholders I deal with on a regular basis are keen to see some version of that extended. But at the same time, there's a sobering moment upon us. We all need to recognize that maybe our trading relationship isn't what it was and won't be exactly what it was for, again, there's so much yet to be determined. It sort of feels like we're at the beginning of all this in many ways sometimes. Yeah. So I think, everybody thinks big, everybody thinks internationally, keen to expand, find new markets, diversify, all good. But at the same time, we need to figure this out locally. There's no way around that, in my opinion.
Okay, we'll find out.
And the worst part is other countries, like, the second most difficult country to work with the United States is China. And China and the United States are actually on pretty good terms right now. the worst country to negotiate with America is Canada, which is insane because we border America. We're their largest customer. They're our largest customer. We have so many mutual benefiting things that are going on and a good ecosystem, but we can't seem to be able to figure out the kinks, and it's causing a lot of turmoil. And this sucks because companies in Canada are very closely tied to America. Even the most Canadian of companies either invests in America or has some ties to America to some capacity. When you buy like an ETF in Canada, most of the time that money is finding its way back to America in some fashion. So the Canadian market, the Canadian ecosystem is tied at the hip to America. And that's what's so scary about all of this, is the fact that they're trying to like sever that cord. And by they, I mean the Liberals. Trump doesn't want that cord severed. Trump would like for Canada to embrace more of the American ecosystem. And I think that we should. I think that Canada should have joint military bases with America in Canada, that we should bring in American services like phone services, television packages, right? Our governments should be embracing Starlink instead of trying to make their own, which is going to be insanely expensive and not work as well. Like it's just so stupid what Canada's doing, trying to be not America, and it's costing us a lot of money to like reinvent all of these things. It's a big waste of time, big waste of money, and it's fracturing a relationship with another country, the superpower, that if we just were on better terms with, life would be substantially better for all of us. Like your daily quality of life would be so much better.
Joining me now is Sahir Khan, Executive Vice President of the Institute of Fiscal Studies and Democracy and former Assistant Parliamentary Budget Officer. Thanks for being with me, Sahir.
My pleasure, Caroline.
So what are you expecting in tomorrow's budget?
Well, I'm expecting a deficit a lot higher than what we had anyone forecast at the election, but the economy is a lot slower, and I think that's to be expected. But I'm also looking for a response. I'm looking for a response after our closest ally, weaponized trade and embarked on a very aggressive industrial policy. So what I'd like to see is a strategy for investment, to grow investment that's been kind of a laggard to the United States since the Harper years in 2014. So we need to close that gap and really create a made in Canada solution to growth and productivity, and to make our economy as big as we can by reduction of interprovincial trade barriers. That's what I think we need to try to deal with an unprecedented risk that's opened up with our closest ally.
Your first note there was expect a deficit, and the office you once worked for, the Parliamentary Budget Officer, the current officer, Jason Jakes, he said that the $70 billion in his estimate, he thought it might be $70 billion, it created an outlook, an economic outlook that he said, quote, was unsustainable. What do you make of that estimate, and whether or not we're on the right track?
Well, we have an estimate as well that includes the proposed measures and things that might come from the election platform that goes from $75 to $90 billion. Wow. So even higher, because we include measures. And the PBO's estimate did not. I think the question of sustainability is one that you have to look over a long term. Our quick assessment is that the books will remain largely sustainable. There will be a bumpy period, and debt to GDP will probably kind of bump along in the low 40s range for a while before it gets better. And really looking for the government to focus on creating an operating budget surplus and really focusing all their expenditure on capital. And it's important, Carolyn, because the last 10 years we saw a lot of transfers, and a transfer in social program, that dollar's worth a dollar in the economy, but a dollar spent on capital and investment could be worth up to $2. So we really need to see that bang for our buck going forward, and really a change in budgeting behavior over the last decade. And it might be the only way we can really control our own destiny in Canada.
For people watching at home today, what's this budget going to mean for the average household budget?
Well, I think in terms of dealing with
higher taxes would be my guess. Higher taxes, things that are just slowly creeping into our life, making our average everyday quality of life a little bit worse.
Anxiety and dealing with risk to employment. A growing economy means that people are employed. We are watching plants go south. We're watching people lose their jobs and layoffs going up. And we know there's slack in the economy. So what I'm looking for this budget to actually address that, so that Canadians' anxiety is actually lowered. That's got to be number one. I think this is something that's really
So I don't think that anxiety will be lowered today. I don't. If the budget is even a little bit higher than what we thought it would be, even if it's higher than $60 billion, it's not going to lower anxiety. Like, more spending by our government is not going to lower anxiety. We're just going to be in more perpetual debt. We don't even have a real number of how much investments we've already brought in or how much more trade we've already brought in with other countries. For some reason, Canada can't say, hey, you know what? We've actually secured $2.1 trillion of investments over the next 10 years. Like, we don't have that number, but we're spending and spending and spending as if we do have that number, and as if that number was really, really high, which there's no reason to believe it really is. I'll tell you what, I can't speak for everybody. I can't speak for everybody watching this video. I certainly can't speak for everybody in Canada, but the higher the budget, the more anxiety I'm going to have, or like, maybe not anxiety, but the more nervous I'm going to feel, because it just means that we're not managing our risk properly. We're not managing our money properly. And it makes me nervous. Generational investments in Canada. Why is that costing us significantly more money? Why aren't we just reallocating our money? Like, it's all so weird. It's so weird. Am I the only one that feels this way? The higher the budget, the more like anxiety type of feelings you're going to have? Or am I alone in that?
Change over the last 6 months, and I think Canadians, by some measures, are probably as anxious or more so than the pandemic or even the 2008 financial crisis. So we really need to kind of think about how do we come together as a country and start to invest in ourselves and bring some of that capital in the private sector that's been sitting on the sidelines, bringing it home to Canada and investing in the future of this country.
All right, thank you for that, Sahir Khan, Executive Vice President of the Institute.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Anyone getting a little bit more and more nervous as time goes on? All I'm asking, guys, for today's stream is for you guys to hit the like button and subscribe. We've got a couple thousand people in here. We got to pump up those numbers, those likes. Those are rookie numbers right now. It's free to do. It's free. Just hit the thumbs up. That's all you got to do. On to the next clip. Here we go.
Ottawa Bureau now. That's where we find CTV's no, he's not there today. My mistake, Colton. You're there in the heart of the action. Pure habit that I introduced you that way. So what's the buzz there? What are you learning about the budget details this morning at this early hour, as we're a few hours yet to go before we see the whole report?
Yeah, Marcia, well, I can tell you what I've been told is in it, and there are a few new details we're learning this morning. First reported by the Globe and Mail, but confirmed by CTV News. $25 billion is what we had heard as far as what savings this government was looking to find. I've been told that there is going to be tens of billions of dollars that will exceed that $25 billion number and is likely to come over the next 5 years. What's being spent? A new $50 billion local infrastructure fund. This significant impact for municipalities, but also for housing. That has been a big priority for this government. One of the barriers to building housing is the local infrastructure needed. This will help with that. There's also a $1 billion fund to attract high-end talent and researchers, primarily from the U.S., but also from the rest of the world. This government has said they want to capitalize on the political infrastructure and the political shift that is occurring inside the United States. This is a fund aimed at doing that. They are also scrapping a Justin Trudeau legacy pledge. He had promised to plant 2 billion trees by 2031. Now, the government has very much been struggling to maintain that promise since Trudeau left office. There's been a number of operational challenges that involve with that. We are told by government sources that that pledge will be scrapped from the budget. What else should we be watching for? Well, there are a couple of things in this budget. There is an expenditure review that the government undertook this summer. Where are they finding the savings? That's going to be included in this. Mark Carney's climate plan, looking for for changes to the tax system in Canada. They have repeatedly said they want to incentivize corporations and make this easier for business to invest, put capital into the country. That's going to be something that we have yet to see the details of, but certainly the Prime Minister has repeatedly said he wants to make changes in this budget. So keep a clean eye, not just on the spending that's coming out here or the savings that are being found, but the regulatory frameworks that may or may not change in this budget. And then finally, of course, this is the budget where they are changing how things operate. They are including capital spend and operational spend. You're still going to see the overall larger deficit number, but it's the first look of this new federal budget. It's been widely heralded by economists and parliamentary budget officers, both past and present, for being a step in the right direction when it comes to further transparency, but it might take a little getting used to if you're someone who goes through the budget like we do.
Oh, yes, and of course we'll be following reaction to the budget throughout the day, but in advance of the budget coming out, new Nanos data is out, giving us a look at what Canadians wanted to see in the budget. What does the polling show, Colton?
A couple of really interesting elements to this polling. First off, there's a very visible split, almost 50-50, between what Canadians want, between spending a little bit more, running a little higher of a deficit, if it means programs for Canadians, versus tackling the deficit. And that is important because the deficit here is going to be significant.
Man, programs for Canadians, there's a time and place, right? There's a time and place for these programs for Canadians, like $10 a day childcare. I've put my kid in daycare, and I could tell you, it's pretty sweet having to pay $300 or $400 a month for full-time daycare for my kid. That ain't bad. However, there's a time and the place. And when our economy is struggling and doing these programs like this, where you're constantly having government subsidized programs at everybody's expense, like my kid's daycare should not be your cost. Just saying, right? Just saying. Then we have an issue. And if the government is talking about reinvesting in itself, it's talking about adding more social programs like this to alleviate some of the stress of, unaffordability and whatever. And that is inherently not a horrible idea, but there's just a time and a place for it. And right now, where life is difficult and we're in in a really big debt right now, huge problem, huge amount of debt, I don't think that this is the right thing to be doing. I don't. Can I say that? I don't know.
And we've seen the increase in spending, the change in revenue, the impact to the Canadian economy. We're hearing numbers of anywhere between $70 and $100 billion. This shows that Canadians are willing to accept a certain level of deficit spending, more perhaps than they have been even, say, 2 years ago, where the number was just 35%, if it means it is going to improve their lives. When it comes to their priorities in the budget, you're also seeing a shift there. Healthcare remains one of Canadians' top 2 priorities, but there's been a sizable drop between where things were just even 2 years ago, where almost 50% of Canadians said it was a top 2 priority for them. That number is now down almost 20 percentage points. Instead, you're seeing jumps in things like infrastructure, where support for that as a top 2 priority has doubled from 6% 2 years ago to 12% now. You're seeing new focus on tariff relief, inflation relief, housing, things that all didn't show up in that same polling 2 years ago. The political landscape has very much shifted, and as Nick Nanos told me over the weekend, it doesn't mean the Liberals have carte blanche to spend, but it does mean there is a little more political capital, a little more political goodwill for them to do so.
Colton Prale for us from the foyer of the House of Commons. Colton, we'll check in with you throughout the morning.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Now, the carte blanche spending that the Liberals are looking for but don't have right now, where they don't need to vote on anything, that would kind of be the theory behind an election, is if the Liberals think they can win, and if somehow they do win, then they don't need to vote on anything, or they would just go through the formality of voting, but it wouldn't actually have any substance because they could just do whatever they want. They have a majority. Luckily, they don't right now, but that's kind of the theory behind this. Is there's a lot of people thinking that they're just going to put out like a ridiculous budget, like $115 billion, where every party and every other politician is going to be like, hell no, we're not spending that. triggers an election and somehow the Liberals win, right? That's a theory behind what is currently going on. Again, we're going to have to wait and see. I hope that's not the case. I really hope it's not. I don't think that we want to go through another election right now. I don't, because I don't know what that outcome would be. And if it somehow is been more beneficial for the Liberals, then life gets substantially shittier for us. Like censorship bills, everything, more spending, whatever Carney wants, whatever Trudeau 2.0 wants, just gets done. No questions asked.
Well, Prime Minister Mark Carney and Finance Minister Francois Philippe Champagne will table their first budget today. The budget is expected to include cuts to public service and increases in military and defense spending. Let's bring in CTV Chief Political Correspondent Vashi Kapelos with a preview. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
And I think before we start this, just in case people at home aren't aware, this is what Carney had.
I want to make a vow to I want my chat to hold me accountable. If I ever wear a turtleneck like this, ever in my life, in a video or something like that, I want you guys to make fun of me, okay? Please do me that favor. If I ever take a photo or a video, if I'm ever wearing a turtleneck like that, make fun of me. Call me all the slurs, everything, please, because I would deserve it, okay? Can you promise me that? Please?
To say last week.
We won't transform our economy easily or in a few months. It will take some sacrifices, and it will take some time.
And I think a big word there that caught a lot of journalists' attention, a lot of political leaders' attention, was the word sacrifice. So when the budget comes out today, where do you think some of those sacrifices might come from?
Well, what they've indicated so far, and I know it's significant for your audience, is that the spending on what they are terming the operating side of government is going to decrease. And they identified in the platform of their campaign, for example, $15 billion on an annual basis of a gap that they think they need to close. So what does that mean over the next few years? Finally, the budget should, and I say should because I don't know for sure if it will, but should provide some of those answers. Are you looking at more than attrition, for example, to get there? Are you looking, they keep using the word workforce adjustment, like what kind of workforce adjustment does that look like? Is it just incentivizing people to retire early, or is it actually eliminating jobs? And what I'm told is behind the scenes, that answer to those questions has changed multiple times over the past few weeks. So there were things 2 months ago that were looking at cuts of 70,000 jobs or 80,000 jobs, and that migrated to somewhere around 15 or 16,000. And maybe over the weekend, because of the politics of this budget and the need to lean on the NDP, that number could shrink even further.
Interesting, and you bring that point up too. I know the Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre was quick to say, Canadians are already struggling. They don't need any more sacrifices, and he pinpointed to young Canadians. But Mark Carney didn't really suggest that it was going to be just towards young Canadians. Are you finding that the support from the other political leaders are supporting this, or what's the vibe from their standpoint?
Well, definitely in the case of the official opposition in the Conservatives, what they have said is that if this is a good budget in their determination, they are willing to support it. Conventionally, it's unheard of for the official opposition to support a budget, and certainly some of the demands that they've laid out ahead of the budget, including capping the deficit at $42 billion, the government has given no indication that it will be anywhere near there. Perhaps it might even be double that. So don't expect them, I think, to support the budget, which would be in line with what traditionally happens. Then you start looking to the Bloc Québécois. They also laid out some very specific demands, including one, boosting OAS for people between 65 and 67. That would be incredibly costly. So you've got to think the government's going to have a hard time meeting those demands, which maybe puts them aside as well as voting against the budget. So that leaves us with the same dance partner the Liberals have had for a number of years, right, in the New Democrats. And therein we have this very interesting kind of situation, which leads many to speculate at the moment that an election could happen, only because the NDP leader himself might decide, I don't want an election, I don't want to force an election. It's not a good idea for Canadians or our party. But he has a caucus of 7, no no official party status. They are disparate in many senses, and they may vote their own conscience, which means we could be in for a surprise election.
Interesting, and we need the opposition's leaders at least some support there to make sure that this budget goes through. And then on the opposite side of things, we talk about the sacrifices, but we're also going to be doing some spending as well, he's indicated.
Oh yeah, lots of spending, and that's the other thing I really got my eye on today, because the government has said, that the Liberals have said, we're going to do this thing where we separate our budget kind of the way we would a credit card payment versus a mortgage payment. So things that we deem to generate a return on investment will fall under one category, and then the other stuff under the other categories. So how high does spending, because they're going to use the word investment, and sure, it's investment. We'll see if it generates a return on investment. The jury's still out because we're so new into this mandate. But investment means spending. And they have signaled on multiple occasions, particularly over the last week and a half, that they are going to do generational investment, which to me means tons and tons of spending. So how high does that number go? How do they expect a return on that investment? What kinds of things are they spending money at? That will give us an idea of, if they do stay in office, what their priorities are. The clearest yet signal of what those priorities are.
Lots of anxious people waiting for that 4 p.m. timeline this afternoon. Vashti Kapelos, we always appreciate when you join us in studio.
Thanks so much, Will.
And a reminder, CTV News will have special coverage of the budget.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. They're just gonna spend $100 billion is my guess. They're gonna spend $100 billion, and they're guising it under generational investments. That's scary. But also remember, folks, what's scarier is if I ever wear a turtleneck like that. I'm just saying, roast me, please, if I ever wear something like that. We got to take a look now at this article. Just out on CBC. Conservatives, NDP caucuses weighing a budget vote that could trigger an election. The Conservatives and NDP caucuses are grappling with what to do about the upcoming federal budget and whether they want to be part of an effort to trigger an election by voting it down. Senior Conservative sources say that the party's leadership does not want an election right now, but they are also opposed to voting for the new Liberal government's first budget, given the potential reputational risk of backing Prime Minister Carney and an agenda they simply don't support. And I know where this is going. This is goodness. I don't want to say this is a checkmate by the Liberals, but this is a very advantageous position that the Liberals are in right now. Very advantageous, because they know that the Conservatives are not going to be voting for the budget. Like historically, like the leader of the opposition parties, they don't really support it unless it's very, very good. But let's just say Pierre somehow supports this. Let's say it's like a $70 billion budget and Pierre supports this. And even if he comes out with videos and says, this is why we supported it, because we didn't want an election, conservative voters are going to be like, well, shit, if you're not going to oppose Carney, then what the hell's the point? So in order for him to keep his reputation and to maintain an actual opposition party, he has to oppose. So we know the Conservatives are going to be opposing. We know the Bloc is going to be opposing. And if this triggers an election, I don't know. I wish I could say who is in a better position to win more seats, but I don't know, because look at what happened earlier this year with our federal election. It took 3 months of runway for us to go from 99% likely of winning the most seats and 99% likely of odds of a majority government to poof, the Liberals win, and they almost win a majority. That was kind of crazy. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has made a series of demands to the Liberals in exchange for votes on the budget, including scrapping the industrial carbon tax and keeping the deficit below $42 billion. There is no chance it's anywhere near $42 billion. I just don't see that happening. But there is no realistic expectation that they will be fulfilled, given the government has already signaled they are a non-starter. The Bloc has also made some expansive demands, including increasing old age security, but the Liberals have made some outreach to the Bloc on Thursday and agreed to include at least one of their demands. But I don't think it's going to be enough for for the bloc to want to vote for in favor of the budget. I really don't. People are saying down in the comments 100 billion. I think I've got a I've got a poll running in the live chat right now of the stream. Will an election be called today? Yes or no? Let me know what you guys think. Let's move on here to this video.
And ahead of tomorrow's federal budget, we are hearing about some of the major industry concerns that have erupted out of Donald Trump's trade war. We know the auto industry is one of the sectors hardest hit by the ongoing U.S. tariffs. And now Canada is starting a dispute resolution process against Stellantis after the automaker announced it's moving jobs south of the border. The CBC's Kate McKenna is closely following the story for us from Ottawa.
Industry Minister Melanie Joly appeared in front of a parliamentary committee today where she broke the news that the federal government is beginning a dispute resolution process with Stellantis, the automaker that is now kind of famously known in Canada for its decision to move some Jeep production from Brampton to Illinois. And this was an announcement that was made last month. It came at the same time that Stellantis announced it was investing billions of dollars into the United States. And of course, all of this is happening in the context of Donald Trump and his tariffs and his repeated assertions that he would like to see Canadian automaker jobs go south of the border. But an important kind of element in this story is that Canada has pledged up to billions of dollars in subsidies for Stellantis as it was looking to expand production here in Canada. Melanie Joly has confirmed that in fact, some money has already gone out the door, a much smaller amount than what could go out the door, so about $105 million so far. And she says she'd like to see money come back to taxpayers because she feels Stellantis is in contravention of the agreement that they've signed, or production stay in Canada. Here's what she told the parliamentary committee.
Brampton facility ceases its production, there will be a violation of a contract. We're actually starting today with the mechanism of dispute settlement because it is important that we be able to hold the company to account.
But one of the big questions is what exactly the agreement between Canada, Ontario, and Stellantis was. Now, Joly says that there were 3 different contracts. A couple of them were made public by my colleague Emma Loop in Windsor, and they were redacted. They didn't seem to have specific job guarantees in them. Melanie Joly faced questions from the Conservative opposition at that committee hearing, say, well, are there job guarantees in these contracts? What does that look like? Joly said that there were production guarantees, which could amount to job guarantees, and also said that there could be job guarantees, but that contract is going to be made public in another parliamentary committee, so we still don't have total clarity on that.
There were no job guarantees. Freaking idiots. There were no job guarantees. Oh my goodness. You know what is a guarantee though? Is stupidity from our Canadian politicians. You know, the Ontario Premier, Doug Ford, how he ran an ad, $75 million in America and around the world, and misused Ronald Reagan's words? Well, he's not the only premier that wants to do that. David Eby has now said that he's going to do it. But he's finding out because a provincial politician obstructed federal trade negotiations that, oh shit, there's actually like real world repercussions for my actions. So David Eby, the communist premier out of British Columbia, who was saying, you know what, we're going to do the same thing, we're going to run the same ad, is now retracting his commitment to that.
We will not be running the ads.
Premier David Eby has hit pause on the province's plan to roll out anti-tariff ads focused on the softwood lumber industry. It comes after U.S. President Donald Trump broke off trade talks with Canada, furious about Ontario's anti-tariff ad featuring former President Ronald Reagan.
High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries.
Ontario pulled the ads, and Prime Minister Mark Carney says he apologized to Trump. Eby says any future ads will be developed with Ottawa's blessing. It's a friendlier, more unified approach. Until now, David Eby has accused the federal government of abandoning BC's lumber industry in favor of Ontario's auto sector and aluminum in Quebec. The federal minister in charge of Canada-U.S. trade says he hears BC's concerns.
Obviously, softwood lumber continues to be something that we had been raising with the Americans.
The result of the so-called Softwood Summit, a new BC Ottawa task force to respond to punishing American tariffs on Canadian softwood lumber, which have now reached 45%. But no concrete promises from Ottawa on enhanced EI benefits for out-of-work forestry workers.
What we're looking for the forest sector is not to be talking just about EI programs. We want to keep people in jobs.
The mayor of Port McNeill, a forestry-dependent community on Vancouver Island, says his expectations are simple.
Something tangible. We are, to say the least, skeptical of another Ottawa task force.
We don't have a lot of time here. We're probably across the country closing in on 2,000 lost jobs. With every passing day, more jobs are at risk. So this needs to be a task force that moves with purpose and with some speed.
The meeting comes just before Prime Minister Mark Carney's first budget, a fiscal plan that he warned will force Canadians to make sacrifices. BC's forestry sector, though, says it's already given enough. Katie DeRosa, CBC News, Victoria.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You know, it's crazy when these radical lefties are saying we are 100% going to be doing this because we need to stand up to Donald Trump, and then they reverse course before even doing it. You know, it's like, oh shit, someone found out. Someone found out. All right, on to the next one. Here we go.
Our front bench is back to talk about this. Louis Hammond, Dimitri Soudis, Kathleen Monk, and Laura Stone. Laura, once again, you're doing all the hard work, yelling the questions at Premier Ford. We get we hear your voice all the time. What do you think really happened here, and what does it say?
Well, I mean, I think I'll start with the second part of the question. I think it says, I mean, clearly they're not all on the same page now, right? I mean, the Premier Ford, we used to think maybe it was an act that Ford and Carney were doing good cop, bad cop, and Premier Ford was saying the quiet part out loud, and that was to the benefit of Canada. I think now it's pretty evident with Prime Minister Carney saying that he apologized to President Trump for offending him, that he wouldn't have run the ad. He tried to warn Premier Ford, and Premier Ford is saying that he has a different recollection of that, not getting into specifics, but that clearly suggests he didn't feel that he was warned. I think it shows that for the first time probably in this trade dispute that the premiers, some of the premiers, are not in line with the federal government, and there's cracks starting to show. I mean, whether that's an issue of management between the Prime Minister and the premiers, and we also know that Premier Ford and Premier Canoe and others have been asking for a meeting, a First Minister's meeting with the federal government now. They clearly don't feel in the loop, and so you're starting to see some freelancing. I think Premier Ford thinks he's doing what is best for his province now, and Prime Minister Carney is trying to kind of manage all these different expectations, but it shows that they're not all in line together, and there's question, I think, about Canada's strategy now, and there's a communication element with both the premiers behind the scenes and the public as to what Canada's plan is going forward, and I'm not sure we have a sense now of the end game here on the part of the federal government.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Louis, I wondered, like, as I listened to both the Prime Minister and the Premier, the line of delineation appears to be like, how hard do you go back at Trump, right? And the Prime Minister seems to think that putting anything that irritates the president in front of him is not going to help their strategy, whereas the Premier seems to be reflecting, I think in large part public sentiment to not just kind of sit there and take the berating from Trump. What do you make of that dividing line, and can it be bridged?
Well, quite frankly, Vashi, I find it quite unfortunate, and not to say pathetic, that we're still talking about this 10 days on. I mean, this should have been mopped up and wrapped up a week and a half ago, as soon as the decision to actually pull the ad was made. Here we are 10 days later, still talking about this front page news. I mean, we got to get it together here. I agree with Laura when she says that what this tells me, obviously, there are cracks that are starting to show in the unity that we were able to have after Donald Trump was elected. But clearly, the federal government has got to do a better job at getting the ducks in a row with respect to this, stop people talking out of school, and move on. I mean, people at the White House must be watching this laughing, quite frankly. One thing I'm going to say, though, is, in politics, I've always said people tend to reward courage and courageous decisions. Can courageous decisions be sometimes unfortunate decisions or even stupid decisions? Sure they can. But I would put anyone to the test. Go out there and ask Canadians as to whether they agreed, how Doug Ford did this and why he did it. Most people are going to say yes. But again, we shouldn't be focusing on who said what when and he said and he said. I mean, that's not important anymore. We really need to move on in the circumstances and get that unity back together, because while we are arguing about this, Vashi, they're still punishing tariffs against aluminum, steel, the auto industry, softwood lumber, and that's not even to say that, the renegotiation of CUSMA. So we really need to sort of get it together and sort of, put this behind us and move on.
Dimitri, what do you think is the best prescription for doing that? Like, how does, is it, for example, the federal government spending more time like they did in British Columbia today, perhaps like informing premiers of the entirety of what's going on behind the scenes, the strategy being employed? Like, if you're not going to tell Canadians why you want to apologize, to the president, or why it's so important, I should say, that you view it as important, like, should you be telling the premiers? Is there cause for a meeting? What do you think? What's the prescription?
Well, I think the prescription is to not promise that you will solve a problem because you are the only one that can do it. Mark Carney committed to a deal by the G8. There was no deal. Then he committed to a deal by July. There was no deal. He then recommitted for a deal sometime in August. I don't blame a single premier, and I see Premier Every sheepishly saying that they're going to pull the ads. His softwood lumber sector is at risk. Premier Ford and Ontario have been threatened to literally lose the entire assembly of the auto sector. Same thing for steel. Aluminum in Quebec, softwood lumber in Atlantic Canada and in Quebec. So the absence of a deal is what is yielding the fact that there are cracks in this unity. And then you have Mark Carney, who tells Canadians elbows up, and he apologizes. He apologizes to Donald Trump over something that he should have never apologized over. Why shouldn't he have apologized? Because the ad was accurate. It was quoting a Republican president, Ronald Reagan, who is a stalwart in the Republican movement in the United States. He was quoting him accurately. And here domestically, the biggest challenge for the Liberals, back to Tomo's budget, is they're going to be basically announcing a stimulus package. Their biggest challenge is not going to be writing the budget, but actually implementing this stimulus package, which will ensure that we ultimately reduce our dependency from the American market. It's going to have to be, people talk about pipelines. It's not how much money the government's going to invest in pipelines. It's allowing for pipelines to be built to the West Coast and to the East Coast so we can export some of our natural gas and some of our oil to other countries other than the United States, to whom we are currently selling our crude oil at a discount, and then the Americans sell it back to us with a markup.
A lower discount thanks to TMX, but I digress. Still at a discount. Kathleen, the last word goes to you, and my question is about what has occurred between the Premier and the Prime Minister, and largely, do you think a First Minister's meeting is enough to bridge the gap?
That guy talking, Dimitri, little bitch boy. That's what he is. Little bitch boy. Little liberal bitch boy. My goodness. Dude's completely lost his mind. Total Trump derangement syndrome.
I think certainly Prime Minister Carney, post-tabling this budget, needs to convene a meeting with the premiers. I think, having LeBlanc heading out to BC today was important, but I think convening everyone to get them on the same page, to make sure they're singing from the same song sheet, so to speak, is critical. Many of us on this panel, Dimitri for sure, and I have run, advertisement campaigns in the past. And in this case, Prime Minister Carney is the campaign manager right now of this, getting a deal with the United States. He's been very clear on that. It's the federal government leads this process. And I think in reflecting on the ads that the Ontario put out, I'm not sure in the end, who their audience was. Because sometimes you do ads and that ad might have been more for a domestic Ontario audience than really for a United States one. And was it a mistake in the end? It frustrates me to no end that, Premier Ford is out there crowing about his media coverage when the fallout hasn't actually been that great from the ad. I get it. Everyone in Canada is still spoiling for a fight. I love a good political fight myself, but I'm not sure in the end if the Prime Minister did tell him not to run the ad, or his chief of staff or whatever, if it was right for the Premier Ford to move ahead and do that. And the question was, he was also only elected several months ago, and is he fulfilling his mandate to Ontarians? $75 million for that ad to roll out. Is that the best focus of Mr. Ford's energy, or should he be working more so to figure out how we can get a deal?
Okay, I got to leave it on that note. I'm out of time. I appreciate all your time. Thank you so much, our front bench, Louis.
Oh, my goodness. The Trump derangement syndrome, man, is just so powerful in Canada. It's consumed analysts. It's consumed mainstream media. It's consumed politicians. It's disgusting. And it's consumed our voter base. It's freaking scary. It's scary. I don't like the tariffs and the trade war going on between Canada and America. I don't. It doesn't bring me joy to be like, oh, yeah, Canada's getting screwed. But Canada needs to figure out how to actually work with America, with Trump. And they're not. That's the thing, is they're not. They're stubborn. Say, no, we got our own 2 feet we're going to stand on. Yeah, but our economy's propped up by America. So we can't really stand on our own 2 feet. Anyways, that's it, folks. That's it. Now we're getting into question period. Question period is about to begin. All I ask is for you guys to hit the like button and subscribe. I got 3,000 people before question period even begins on budget day. All right. Obviously, it's a huge day. Let's make it huger. Let's make it the hugest. Hit the like button. Please subscribe. Pretty please. And let's get into this. It's going to be a good day. Probably not, actually. It's probably going to be a horrible day, but let's have fun. Let's laugh together, because if we're not laughing, we're crying. You know what I'm saying? And if you're feeling nervous, if you've got the heebie-jeebies, if you're anxious, just know that that's all right. It's okay to feel that way right now, because the state of Canada feels extremely fragile, and it feels like we're on the verge of a form of bankruptcy of something, and there's so much uncertainty, and that's okay. It's okay to feel that way. Just don't wear a turtleneck like that dude on CTV or whatever. Don't ever let me wear one either. Here we go.
Our children deserve nothing less.
The Honourable Member for Beauport-Limoilou. Mr. Speaker, today I would like to draw your attention to a beacon of science located in the heart of my riding of Beauport-Limoilou, the VITAM Research Centre, a centre dedicated to sustainable health. VITAM is inspired by a simple but powerful vision: a healthy mind in a healthy body, living in a healthy environment on a healthy planet. At the head of this institution is an exceptional man, Professor and researcher Jean-Pierre Després. Through his work, VITAM is moving forward into new areas, integrating human, social, and environmental dimensions. The VITAM Centre perfectly illustrates the best that Beauport-Limoilou has to offer, a community of excellence, innovation, and compassion, where science is put to work for the benefit of people. I sincerely thank the researchers and the entire VITAM team for their exemplary dedication and contribution to the health of our population and the advancement of scientific knowledge in Quebec and in Canada.
The Honourable Member for Simcoe North. Andrew Moore was a warrior for more competition in the financial services sector and the most respected and passionate advocate for open banking. Under his leadership, Equitable Bank grew from $3 billion in assets to over $125 billion. It was deemed Canada's challenger bank. Andrew and EQ Bank challenged more than their competitors. They challenged the system, they challenged bureaucracy, and they challenged the rules. His persistence on open banking always focused on the benefits to consumers, increasing access, enhanced service, and of course, lower costs. A few months ago, Andrew unexpectedly passed away. It is regrettable that the system here moved too slow for him to see it to fruition. But the road to open banking has been paved with the stones that Andrew has laid. While the business community grieves a remarkable leader, we cannot help but think of the family who Andrew cared for deeply and treasured enormously. You will be missed, Andrew, but your legacy will endure.
The honourable member for Hamilton West, Ancaster Dundas.
I've lived in Hamilton my whole life. I'm incredibly proud of our city's heritage as Canada's industrial centre and the heart of steelmaking. That spirit of hard work and resilience defines Hamilton. Illegal and unnecessary U.S. tariffs on steel threaten our industry and the livelihoods of hardworking Hamilton families. How we respond isn't about politics. It's about people, it's about workers, it's about the future of Hamilton and all Canadian industry. We need every political party, all levels of government, working together, united, to defend Canadian workers and build new opportunities. That's why our government is forging new markets for Canadian steel and investing in good jobs right here at home, ensuring Hamilton remains at the heart of Canada's industrial future. We can't control an unpredictable U.S. government, but we can control how we respond,
It's
as we
America's
always
fault
have,
all the
with
time for
unity,
everything.
determination, and pride. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Pitt Meadows, Maple Ridge.
Mr. Speaker, after 10 years of Liberal rule, Canadians can no longer afford life in our own country. Under this Prime Minister, we are seeing empty bank accounts, empty fridges and stomachs. Food bank use in Toronto doubled since 2023, and the situation is just as dire in BC. Instead of the fastest growing economy in the G7, we have the slowest. The Liberals have given us skyrocketing deficits and debt, factory shutdowns and vanishing jobs. Canadians are working harder but getting poorer. Every dollar that this government spends raises taxes, inflation, and the cost of living. Conservatives demand a budget that makes life affordable again, one that eliminates hidden taxes on food, work, home building, investments, and gets our deficit under control. Enough with the empty words, enough with the broken promises. It's time to strengthen Canada. It's time to make life affordable for all.
The honourable member
Funny
for
how it's always
Drummond.
America's fault, eh?
Mr. Speaker, every year on November 11th, we have a duty to remember. For those who served in the military, for those who made the ultimate sacrifice in conflicts in which this country has participated over the decades. This year is a very special one for me. I've been offered the honorary presidency of the Drummondville Legion 51 Poppy campaign. I accepted with pride, Mr. Speaker, because, as the member for Drummond, I'm well placed to understand the extent to which our veterans need the support of their Legion. I accepted because I believe that we collectively owe them recognition and respect for their service. Poppies are everywhere up until November 11th, in grocery stores, shopping malls, in all kinds of stores, and they cost very little for what they bring. A small donation at your discretion according to your means, nothing more. But of all, Mr. Speaker, the poppy is worn close to the heart, because that is where we cherish the memory of the thousands of men and women who have stood as a bulwark to defend our values and our democracy.
The honourable member for Toronto St. Paul's.
Mr. Speaker, on this historic day, I rise to recognize the life and work of the late Andrew Moore, who served 18 years as the CEO of EQ Bank and was a longtime resident of Toronto St. Paul's, who we lost suddenly this summer. Our thoughts are with his wife Megs and his 3 children, Dan, Kat, and Sarah. Andrew was a true Canadian pioneer, driven by an unwavering belief that banks should, above all else, serve their clients and serve Canadians. He was an innovator that advocated for greater competition in the financial industry to give Canadians more options and more control over their finances. At this moment of profound economic disruption and opportunity, let us follow the example Andrew set, that Canadian innovation, Canadian ingenuity can help us navigate this moment and create a stronger and more resilient economy for all Canadians. Thank you.
The honourable member for St. John, St. Croix.
Mr. Speaker, Liberals measure success by how many tax dollars are spent. They say the number in today's budget is what matters. Yet Canadians know why more debt financing is being offered. Liberal policies have failed to build, empower, or protect our country. Conservatives are calling for an affordable budget for affordable lives. We want affordable lives for the 1 in 5 Canadian food bank users who work hard but cannot afford to feed themselves. We want affordable lives for seniors who are being crushed by higher prices because of the industrial carbon tax and the food packaging tax. We want affordable lives for the parents who are forced to spend $800 more this year on food compared to last year.
That's right.
The Prime Minister said, judge him by the prices at the grocery store. Canadians have judged. They want no more of the same. They want change, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for La Salle-et-Marne-Verdun. Mr. Speaker, with municipal elections having taken place across Quebec, and even if the results aren't official yet, I would like to warmly congratulate the new mayor of Montreal, Soraya Martinez-Ferrada, and all the new mayors and elected officials in La Salle-et-Marne-Verdun and the Southwest.
With all of you for La Salle-et-Marne-Verdun's benefit, je veux aussi...
I would also like to thank all of the candidates who ran for office. Our democracy is based on a diversity of choices and on ideas that guide our various levels of government. Our fellow citizens are fortunate to be able to count on such dedicated and courageous people to represent them.
Voters who participated, thank you. Our democracy thrives when we all engage. Know that I'm looking forward to working with our newly elected municipal representative. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Hamilton East, Stony Creek.
Our justice system hit absolute rock bottom this past Friday when the Supreme Court ruled that there will be no mandatory minimums for monsters who access and possess child sexual abuse content. This comes after 10 years of soft on crime liberal policies. Let me be clear. We're talking about 2 monsters that were in possession of hundreds of images and videos that were made by torturing innocent children. Conservatives immediately announced that we would use the notwithstanding clause to overturn this very dangerous ruling. Monsters that possess child sexual abuse content are not victims. They are criminals. We should lock them up and throw away the key. As a father and a parent, I find this disgusting.
Yes.
The innocence of our children should be protected at all costs. If we cannot protect our children, my fellow members, then who are we? The Prime Minister has remained silent on this issue, and Canadians want to know why.
That's very true.
The honourable member for Terrebonne.
Yeah, throw some W's down. That was good.
Mr.
That was
Speaker,
good messaging.
today I want
we got
to
do something about
highlight
that.
a program that is transforming the lives of our children, the National School Food Program.
Hey, if you guys haven't
Every
yet
day,
already, hit
this
the like.
program provides thousands of students in my riding and across the country with a healthy, free, nutritious meal. It's not just a social measure. It's a real investment in academic success, in public health, and in equal opportunity. It's an investment in the future of our young people, because young people with full stomachs can succeed. I am very proud of
The
this
liberal
program.
budget, I guess.
It's a tool to help build a society where every child can learn on a full stomach. I'd like to commend the exceptional work of the schools, community organizations, and volunteers who make this program possible. Organizations like the Breakfast Club, which works across Quebec. Thanks to their commitment, we are collectively affirming that eating well at school is a right and not a privilege. Thank you.
The honourable member for Calgary Heritage.
Canadians want an affordable budget and an affordable life, not a Prime Minister who profits in secret while people line up at food banks in record numbers. $6.5 billion.
That's how much experts say that the Prime Minister's former company, Brookfield, sheltered in tax havens over the last 5 years offshore. The Prime Minister helped set up 3 multi-billion-dollar investment funds in Bermuda and the Cayman Islands, funds he stands to benefit directly from through bonus pay. Canadians deserve to know that their Prime Minister is making decisions in the public interest, not his own financial interest. Liberals can keep protecting their boss. Conservatives will stand with taxpayers. We'll expose the abuse. We will defend hardworking Canadians. And we will hold the Prime Minister accountable for putting his profit ahead of their lives.
The honourable member for Burnaby Central.
Speaker, this week we are honored to welcome members of Burnaby Firefighters, Local 323 to Ottawa, the brave women and men on the front line of public safety. Bienvenue à Ottawa. I remember visiting Fire Station 8 in Burnaby, a modern, purpose-built facility where our firefighters have the best tools to return home safely after every call. Day after day, they face danger with courage and compassion, often at great personal risk. Beyond emergencies, they are pillars of our community, supporting families in need and volunteering for local charities. I want to recognize President Doug Petit for his years of service and for leading by example through every challenge. On behalf of the people of Burnaby Central, I honor these women and men whose courage turn fear into hope and duty into commitment. Mr. Speaker, let's stand together and applaud our true heroes, and let's make sure they are well protected by the law of our country. Merci.
Oral questions.
Oral questions,
The honourable member for Regina Capel.
Andrew Scheer. Huh?
Mr. Speaker, every dollar this Liberal government spends comes out of the pockets of hardworking Canadians in either inflation or tax hikes. And today we'll find out just how many dollars this government is going to take out of the pockets of Canadians. There is going to be one difference today. After today, every tax rate, every piece of red tape, every rule, regulation, and every bit of wasteful spending will be exactly how this Prime Minister wants it. Conservatives have been clear. We will not support a costly budget that makes life more expensive for Canadians. So instead of asking Canadians to pay more for a big bloated bureaucracy, why not bring in an affordable budget that lowers prices for everyone?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
I thought Pierre would be there.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Then it's a great day for the official opposition because we are going to have an affordable budget. We are going to have an historic budget that creates opportunity for young people and Canadians from coast to coast to coast, building this country, making sure that government works for people, invests in their communities. And Mr. Speaker, we look forward to having the Conservatives support this great budget.
The honourable member for Regina
Nobody's going to support it.
That would be an 11th hour change because this government has been telling young Canadians that they're going to have to sacrifice more so that government gets bigger and bigger. They even try to deny that their hidden taxes on food makes life more expensive. They call those hidden taxes imaginary. Let me tell you, the farmer that has to pay the industrial carbon tax on his new equipment or on the fertilizer he buys has to pass those costs on to Canadians, and food prices go up as a result. He doesn't have the option to not pay the industrial carbon tax on farm equipment and fertilizer. So a concrete measure to help bring prices down would be to scrap the industrial carbon tax. Will they do that today?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Here we go again, Mr. Speaker, with these imaginary taxes. There is no tax on food. There will never be a tax on groceries. And great news for the opposition, today's budget won't have any of these imaginary taxes in them either. What this budget will have are historic investments in young people, in building this country, in building communities, and in making this country stronger, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Regina Capel.
Farmers can call up CRA and say that the carbon tax on farm equipment and fertilizer is just imaginary, or maybe they could write imaginary checks to pay for them, Mr. Speaker. But it's not just the industrial carbon tax that's driving up food prices, it's also the Liberal fuel standard. When truckers take the food from farms to factories to grocery stores, they can't tell Revenue Canada that those taxes are imaginary. They have to pay that extra 17 cents a litre. So again, to help bring prices down for working Canadians, why not scrap the fuel standards that are driving up food costs?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, this is more about the talk of imaginary taxes coming from the other side. But you know what? If you want to talk about clean fuel regulations. You don't even have to just take my word for it that's not a tax. You can check the Canola Digest, because they point out this provides opportunities for farmers. When we're talking about biofuels, this is an important place. It's an opportunity for canola farmers. I hope that they support it, and I hope they support our budget.
So I just got an inside text.
The honourable member for Louis Saint-Laurent à Kyawenrak. Mr. Speaker, in less than 2 years,
Pierre
in less than 2 hours, the budgets will table their 10th deficit.
Are meeting with
in 2015.
Carney right now.
They were elected by saying 3 small deficits and no more deficits after 2019. But the reality was that the debt has doubled under the Liberals. The cost of housing has doubled under the Liberals. And the Prime Minister told young people, you'll have to sacrifice even more. Mr. Speaker, instead of asking young people to sacrifice their future, instead of having an expensive election, why not have an affordable budget for an affordable life for Canadians? The Honourable Leader of the government in the House, the member across the way, will have a great day today because, yes, we'll have an affordable budget that protects the most vulnerable, that invests in our youth, that invests in our world, that invests in communities from coast to coast to coast, a budget that will create opportunities, that will build our country, to build the strongest G7 economy. So I would like to ask the member to support us today. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint-Laurent à Kyawenrak. Mr. Speaker, all Canadians want a budget that will protect their cost of living. People are hurting with regards to food. Inflation has doubled the price of some food. 2.5 million Canadians have to go to food banks. The Prime Minister was voted by saying he would be judged on the cost of food. And after 10 years of Liberal government, Sylvain Charlebois, a professor, says that if we have a look at the G7, we are currently the only G7 country that has had 4 consecutive months of food price increases. Will the Canadians finally have an affordable budget? The Honourable Secretary of State. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our affordable budget will have historic investments that will strengthen Canada. It will strengthen families and Canadians from coast to coast to coast. These investments will allow us to create jobs and careers for young people. It will allow us to build more affordable housing for young Canadians, and it will allow us to protect support measures that help families. Our government will table a budget that will build, that will protect, and that will strengthen Canada. And I cannot wait for the members across the way to vote for it. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint-Laurent à Kyawenrak.
Weird.
Mr. Speaker, we've had a proposal tabled for months that will reduce the cost of food, and that's abolishing the industrial carbon tax. Mr. Speaker, food doesn't just grow on trees. It has to be harvested from the trees. It has to be processed. Thereafter, it also has to be packaged and sent to stores. And that is where the industrial carbon tax kicks in. Mr. Charlebois, the same professor that I mentioned before, said yesterday before Parliamentary Committee, saying that the costs have gone up. The difference between us and the States have gone up because we have an industrial carbon tax and they don't. End of intervention, inaudible for the interpreter. The Honourable Minister for the Environment. There are always people that talk about imaginary taxes, and
So
they continue
now
to talk about imaginary taxes, but let's get back
Andrew
down to
Scheer
earth.
is
We've
left.
tabled a responsible
Pierre's not
budget
there
that
and
will
Andrew
tackle
Scheer just walked out.
affordability, that will help Canadians because we support Canadians. We are ready to work hard for Canadians to build a strong future, and I hope that the Conservatives will support our budget to do that as well. The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals have announced that they are scrapping their plan to plant 2 billion trees. This proves once again that they haven't understood a thing. If everyone was laughing at them for this programme, it wasn't because the programme was bad and it needed to be cancelled. It was because the Liberals were incapable of planting the damn trees in the first place. Everyone was laughing at them because year after year they missed their target. Today we learned that they are abandoning the programme. Instead of correcting their incompetence, they simply just to give up. Is that really the Liberal approach?
Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, our budget today will seize a generational opportunity to transform our economy through ambitious investments, rigorous discipline, ensuring every dollar goes to help build the strongest economy in the G7, and we look forward to sharing that with the member opposite.
The honourable member for Saint-Jean. I don't think he was answering from the right sheet, Mr. Speaker. The Liberals are cutting their $2 billion tree planting programme. That's what we're talking about. Just as they've cut carbon pricing, just as they are allowing their own environmental assessments to be circumvented through Bill C5. All the environmental measures put in place under Justin Trudeau, as meagre and insufficient as they were, are being abandoned one by one. It's setback after setback after setback. You'd think you were watching the Conservatives play, Mr. Speaker. So the question arises, do the Liberals actually believe in climate change? The honourable leader of the government in the House.
I think they believe in the money they can make off of grifting climate change.
Esteemed colleague across the way will have to wait for the budget, but what I can confirm now is that we will continue to ensure that Canada is a key player against climate change. Instead of providing setbacks, we will continue to progress in Canada. I hope that the member doesn't want us to stop projects in Quebec, but Mr. Speaker, what I can confirm is that we will invest in our youth, invest in our regions, and invest for our country's progress. The honourable member for Repentigny. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals are announcing the abandonment of their strategy to plant 2 billion trees today. But it's symbolic to abandon the only green measure remaining from the Trudeau era. It's ironic that it's happening on a day of a budget that is dangerous for the environment. The budget will detail the federal government's new strategy called Climate Competitiveness. If this means cutting carbon pricing, cutting electric vehicle quotas, cutting tree planting, and encouraging the expansion of oil and gas, shouldn't we just rename it climate capitulation? The Honourable Minister for the Environment. Mr. Speaker, the member across the way should know full well, because we've talked about it many times, that our government will continue to fight against climate change. Not only that, we will continue to build a strong Canada, because that's what Canadians want. They want to see that we have significant projects that means good jobs for the youth. That means a strong country, and we will continue to do so, and I really hope that they will be supportive of our budget.
Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes. Every dollar this Liberal government spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians through higher taxes and higher inflation. And today at 4 o'clock, we're going to find out just how much more they're going to take out of the pockets of Canadians. And Canadians could be paying $300 to $400 more in grocery costs because of their food packaging tax. And Canadians are looking for an affordable budget for an affordable life. So will the Prime Minister instead scrap his food packaging tax instead of trying to engineer a costly election with his costly budget?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is an historic day for our country. Today, our government will table a generational disciplined budget. We will transform our economy from reliance to resilience and build our economy in the strongest in the G7. We will spend less on government operation and invest more in capital projects and build our economy into the strongest economy in the G7. I hope the party opposite cuts the rhetoric and will support us and vote for our budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
We've heard this same tune from these Liberals before, and the result? 2.2 million Canadians visiting food banks. Their industrial carbon tax is another example of driving up costs for everyday Canadians. They're paying more and they're getting less. We want to know why they continue with these taxes, like their food packaging tax, that even Deloitte, we know they love consultants, and Deloitte is saying that it's raising the price of produce by 30%. So will the Prime Minister, while he's still got a chance, commit, instead of having a costly election, to having an affordable budget for affordable lives for Canadians?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, there is no food packaging tax. The party opposite is obsessed with imaginary taxes. Let's talk affordability,
I don't like how
Mr.
they keep
Speaker.
gaslighting
Let's
us.
talk about cutting taxes for 22 million Canadians. No comments on that. Let's talk about cutting the tax for first-time homebuyers. No comments on that. Let's talk about cutting the consumer carbon tax. No comments on that, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, we are focused on affordability for Canadians. Canadians made a choice in the last election. They chose our side. They chose our Prime Minister. They rejected that leader. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Kildonan St. Paul.
Mr. Speaker, every dollar the Liberal spends, we know, comes from the pockets of Canadians, which drives up taxes and inflation. And now they're making it worse with their hidden food taxes. For example, the Liberal packaging plastic ban will add $5.6 billion to food prices because, of course, it forces producers to use more costly packaging that doesn't preserve food as well, which, of course, means shorter shelf lives, more waste, and higher food prices. So will the Prime Minister stop trying to engineer this costly election with his costly budget and instead scrap this $5.6 billion hidden food tax, Mr. Speaker?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Just hammering them, man. Put a W down for Raquel.
As my colleagues have said, there is no tax. It's an imaginary tax. There is no tax on food packaging in Canada.
For Kildonan St. Paul.
Mr. Speaker, the experts are telling us that these food packaging taxes will add $5.6 billion, and that's just one of them. They're also forcing the food industry to redesign food labels, of all things, which will add an additional $8 billion to the cost of food. Canadians aren't asking the Liberals to redesign food labels, Mr. Speaker. They're asking for more affordable food. So will they scrap this hidden food tax and save Canadians some money?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there is no food packaging tax. There is no food labeling tax. There is no tax on groceries. These are imaginary taxes, and repeating these same lines is not going to make them real.
Member for Oshawa.
Mr. Speaker, every dollar the Liberals spend comes straight out of the pockets of Canadians through higher taxes and the skyrocketing cost of living. The Liberals can gaslight and call fuel regulations tax imaginary all they want, but my neighbours in Oshawa will feel the hit up to 17 cents per litre more for gas. Will the Prime Minister stop trying to engineer a costly election with a costly budget and finally scrap the fuel regulations tax?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to stand up for Canadians every single day. We're going to invest in their futures. We're going to invest in the jobs that Canadians are talking about they want to take up. Mr. Speaker, this is a time when Canadians have pulled together to build Canada strong, and that's exactly what our budget's going to do. We're going to make sure the tools are there for every Canadian who is protecting this country. I hope these guys get on board.
Oh, my goodness.
The honourable member for Mégantic-l'Érable-Lotbinière. When the Liberal government spends a dollar comes out of the pocket of a Canadian because of higher taxes and Liberal inflation. Liberal hypocrisy has reached a peak. They are hiding taxes on the backs of families who are struggling to feed themselves. Yes, it is a hidden tax when they pass a $5.2 billion bill to Canadians by changing food packaging rules. Instead of tabling a costly budget this afternoon, will the Prime Minister abolish the packaging tax and give $5 billion back to families in an affordable budget for an affordable life? The Leader of the Government in the House. Mr. Speaker, all Canadians know that there is no packaging tax. There's no tax as is described by the member. There's no tax on groceries. These are imaginary taxes that the Conservatives are dreaming up. They do not exist. Canadians already know this. The Conservatives should probably know this as well. The honourable member for Mégantic-l'Érable-Lotbinière. There's nothing imaginary when mothers simply do not have the money to pay for milk, cheese, meat, everything they need to feed their children properly. For example, Mr. Speaker, the industrial carbon tax will cost them up to $1,000 in very real money every single year. Whilst they're wondering how they're going to pay for their groceries, the Prime Minister is trying to provoke a costly election with a costly budget. Why not think about families for once and simply cancel the industrial carbon tax instead? Because life is just becoming less and less affordable. The Honourable Minister for Industry. Mr. Speaker, it's not because my colleague keeps asking the same question that he should get a different answer. My point is that he is drumming up imaginary taxes, but he's also not referring to the fact that we have reduced taxes for the middle class, for example. In the next budget that will be tabled this afternoon before this House, we'll protect our jobs, we'll protect our economy, we'll protect our communities. We'll also be here to build our country, build our economy with great projects, major defense investments.
Halloween was a few days ago.
Our budget will also be here to help Canadians. The Honourable Member for Saint-Hyacinthe and Bégota-Acton. Mr. Speaker, as the Prime Minister returns from a mission to Asia, let us remember that China trades heavily in products made with forced labour, including child labour.
Reminder to hit the like button, folks, and subscribe if you haven't
must never
already.
be achieved at the expense of slavery and human rights abuses. The Bloc Québécois has tabled Bill C-251 to prevent any importation from regions suspected of using modern slavery unless the seller can prove that they do not profit from forced labour or child labour. Will the government support our bill? The Honourable Minister for Foreign Affairs. Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank my honourable colleague for that question. Our government does not support forced labour at all. We will continue to defend human rights throughout the world, especially through multilateral organizations. At the same time, we will continue to invest in our economy and have bilateral relations when it is necessary for our country throughout the world. The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, the Chinese regime is guilty of genocide against the Uyghur and Turkic peoples in the Xinjiang. This genocide includes forced labour and child labour, whose blood and sweat are found in products such as cotton. This genocide has been recognized by this very House, but has not stopped the Prime Minister from courting China. The Bloc Québécois bill is simple. It mirrors what the United States is already doing to ban the import of products made with forced labour. The question is simple. Will they support the Bloc Québécois bill, yes or no?
Nah, no one's listening to the Bloc.
Unfortunately, I can't bring this to a vote, but I will hand it over to the Minister for Foreign
Everyone
Affairs.
in the House is on their phones.
Mr. Speaker, Canada is incredibly preoccupied by the treatment of the Uyghur in China. The report was one essential step that raised very alarming factors of what's happening there. China still has not acted in a significant way to respond. Canada will continue to work with its partners, its international partners, to resolve this situation. Canada is here for human rights every single day through international organizations. That is a priority for us.
The Honourable Member for Newmarket Aurora.
Young Canadians are asking a simple question. What is left for me to sacrifice after a decade of failed Liberal policies? They're saying, I can't find a job, I'm delaying starting a family, I can't buy a home, I am living in my parents' basement. What is left to sacrifice, Prime Minister? And what is the Liberal government's response? We're going to mortgage your future with more generational debt. Will the Prime Minister stop breaking his promises, rein in his reckless spending, and finally deliver an affordable budget that gives young Canadians a fighting chance at an affordable life?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Children and Youth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today's budget will deliver historic investments to build Canada strong. This means strong families and strong communities from coast to coast to coast. Investments that will create good quality jobs and careers for young Canadians, that will build infrastructure, that will put more affordable homes within reach for young Canadians, and protect the supports that help families to get ahead. Your new government is putting forward a budget to build, protect, and empower Canadians and Canada, and I hope the members opposite will join us and support the budget.
Honourable Member for Newmarket Aurora.
They have been saying those same words for over a decade, but life has only gotten harder. They call it an investment, but it's not. It is a mortgage on our youth's future. A 19-year-old girl from Halifax was on national news saying she can't afford groceries, she can't find work. That is the reality behind their so-called investments. Youth unemployment is at 15%, not because young people have given up, but because this Liberal government has given up on them. So will the Prime Minister stop asking young Canadians to sacrifice even more and deliver an affordable budget for an affordable life?
The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Mr. Speaker, to the member opposite, this government is taking action to make life more affordable for young Canadians. We are delivering on housing. You look across the country right now, average rents are down, mortgage rates are down, home prices are going down. That's benefiting young Canadians, and we're not stopping there, Mr. Speaker. We are doubling up on housing for young Canadians, making sure the first-time homebuyers tax benefits up to $50,000, and we're going to deliver with Build Canada Homes, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Richmond Hill South.
This Liberal Prime Minister told young Canadians that they must make some sacrifices. Well, they've already had to sacrifice good-paying jobs and the dream of home ownership, and they've already paid the price as food costs keep going up. A Liberal inflationary deficits throw fuel on the fire. A 19-year-old girl from Halifax said it best on national news. Quote, food insecurity is not good. Finding a job is even harder. Youth unemployment is now approaching 15%, the highest rate since 2010, coming out of the Great Recession. Will the Liberals stop asking young Canadians to make more sacrifices, finally keep their promises, so young Canadians can have an affordable budget for an affordable home?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Labour.
I've traveled across this country. I've met with union leaders. I've met with workers, and they're excited about our plan to build big and build bold, build infrastructure project, build Canada Homes, because of the opportunities it creates. Opportunities to bring in high school students, opportunities to bring in apprentices, opportunities to invest in the next generation of skilled workers. Mr. Speaker, if the Conservatives want an affordable budget for an affordable life, they have the opportunity to vote for one today. Will they join us?
Honourable Member for Richmond Hill South.
Mr. Speaker, the only thing generational with Liberal deficits is the debt that the next generation must pay. Exactly. Liberal inflationary deficits are driving up the cost of everything. Young Canadians can't find jobs, they can't afford homes, and they can't even afford food. 25% of Canadians face food insecurity. They're sacrificing by cutting back on nutritious food. It's gone so bad that recipes for poverty potlucks and struggle meals, like those using hamburger helper and instant ramen, are now trending on social media. When will the Liberals finally stop breaking their promises, get spending under control, and deliver what young Canadians actually need? An affordable budget for an affordable...
Well said, well said. Throw some W's down the chat. Isn't that sad that that's the case right now?
Keep hearing those words from the Conservatives, but the reality of the situation is that every time there's an opportunity to vote for measures that help Canadians, they vote against it. They vote against no to dental care. They vote against no to the National School Food Program, which they call garbage, Mr. Speaker. They said no to the increase of the Canada Child Benefit, no to a tax cut that helps 22 million Canadians. While they keep saying no, our government is investing to help families, yes, to lowering costs for Canadians, yes, to building a stronger future for Canadians. So, Mr. Speaker, today they'll get another chance to vote for a budget that is affordable for Canadians. Will they join us?
The Honourable Member for Terra Nova, the Peninsulas.
Mr. Speaker, food insecurity is not good, and finding a job is even harder. Those are the words of a 19-year-old from Atlantic Canada. Youth employment is skyrocketing, nearly 15%, and this Prime Minister told Canadians that they needed to make more sacrifices, but they've already sacrificed enough. Young people are having to sacrifice working in their hometown because they have to go away for work. This means that our kids will be fast sacrificing dinners with grandma. When will these Liberals get over their overspending, get spending under control so that the Canadians can have an affordable life and not get stuck with the bill?
Right. The Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Oceans.
Mr. Speaker, I'm so proud to be able to stand today in reference to the opposition member from Newfoundland and Labrador and talk about the measures that we are putting in place for young workers to train in construction, welders, the work that we need to build Canada strong, happening in our province. I was so proud to make that announcement last week. That's just one of the many measures, not to mention the programs for children and families. I really hope this member votes for the budget.
Member for Port Moody Coquitlam.
Mr. Speaker, the world economy
is shifting, and Canada must rise to meet this unprecedented moment. Global trade is in disarray, tariffs reshaping markets, and our largest trading partner increasingly unreliable. Budget 2025 is our chance to act. Can the Secretary of State for Financial Institutions and the CRA explain how Canada will meet this moment with a historic investment budget?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
TDS, man,
Speaker,
TDS.
I want to thank the member for that great question. This is a transformational moment. We will pivot from an era of reliance to resilience. With Budget 2025, we're laying the groundwork of some of the investments, some of the biggest investment this country has seen since the Second World War. We will spend less in government operations. We will invest more in Canadians, invest more in Canada. This is our moment, Mr. Speaker, our time to build big, build bold, and build now. It's time to build Canada strong. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for
So fake.
Inflation is up
Enthusiasm.
another 4% because of the Liberals' hidden industrial carbon tax and tax on food packaging. Now, the Liberals will like to say that these are just imaginary taxes, but experts at the Agriculture Committee yesterday confirmed not only are these taxes not imaginary, they are in fact
he's wearing the
driving up
Ray-Ban
the
Metas.
price of groceries. And I want to quote Dr. Sylvain Charlebois, who said wholesale food prices have increased, and one of the factors driving this is the carbon tax. And so we are very concerned, and we expect food inflation to be a problem moving
There's a camera
forward.
in that,
So the Prime Minister stop his inflationary budget and
in those
scrap his taxes
glasses.
on food so Canadians can afford to feed themselves.
I know because I have a pair.
Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Speaker, once again, there is no tax on plastic food
He's probably
packaging.
recording
They can
now.
keep saying it if they want, but it doesn't make it
doesn't
true.
exist.
But you know what is true? We are going to be tabling a budget today. It's going to support Canadians. It's an important, big moment for our country as we build our country and we build it well. I hope that the Conservatives will support us.
The Honourable Member for Foothills.
Well, imaginary things like Deloitte and Dr. Sylvain Charlebois have already confirmed what Canadians know. These are not imaginary taxes. They are struggling to pay these taxes every single day at the grocery store. The food professor said as a result of the industrial carbon tax and taxes on food packaging, Canada is the only G7 country where food inflation has increased for 4 straight months. And it's only going to get worse, which is scary when we have 2.2 million Canadians forced to use a food bank. Will the Prime Minister scrap his taxes on food so Canadians can afford to feed themselves?
Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, once again, these are imaginary taxes. They do not exist. There is no tax on food packaging. He can cite all of the imaginary people that he wants to cite. There are no taxes on food packaging. And good news, this budget won't include any either.
The Honourable Member for Oxford.
Mr. Speaker, every dollar this Liberal government spends comes straight from the pockets of hardworking Canadians. More government deficits mean higher taxes and more inflation, jacking up the cost of living already. Canadians are struggling. Nicole, a single mom from Oxford, works 2 jobs, 70 hours a week, barely sees her kids, and still can't make ends meet. These stories from like Nicole and others are now becoming the norm thanks to Liberal deficits. So instead of trying to cause a costly election on their costly budget, why won't they table an affordable budget for an affordable life?
There you go. Liberals are going to call an election and blame the Conservatives. Isn't that crazy?
Mr. Speaker, I want to highlight today that the opposition can offer Nicole and those single-parent households the support of a future that is based in today's budget that will be presented. Wow. My colleagues today have the chance to protect those very futures that they speak about, including those young Indigenous children, the fastest growing population who need us and depend on the programs that we have put in place. Canadians chose a Prime Minister with a vision that they trust. We hope the opposition will prioritize protecting Canadians' budgets that they need in this critical time. We know that we all...
They chose them out of fear.
Canadians have seen this nightmare before. Empty Liberal promises can't feed empty stomachs. stomachs. When Liberals recklessly spend, it's Canadians who pay the price. Higher grocery prices, higher rents, more on gas. And the only thing that is growing in this Liberal economy are the lines at food banks, with over 2 million folks now visiting food bank in a single month. Yeah. Liberal deficits mean higher taxes, higher inflation, meaning life is more expensive for Canadians. So I'll ask again, instead of trying to cause a costly election on their costly budget, why won't they table an affordable budget for an affordable life?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, once again with the imaginary taxes, Mr. Speaker, but I'll tell you something that isn't imaginary, because I get to be the House Leader and actually see things that aren't imaginary. We are debating C4, which does 3 things. It cuts income taxes on every single person that pays income tax. It cuts the GST for first-time home buyers, and guess what? It gets rid of the carbon tax, Mr. Speaker. But these Conservatives play games and procedures and talk around these things to delay affordability measures that are quite real, not imaginary for Canadians. They should...
The Honourable Member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, Liberals are taking money out of Canadians' pockets with inflation caused by their deficits. This is threatening our children's future, which is unacceptable. This record-breaking deficit budget will destroy our children's dreams. That is unacceptable. The Liberals are also going to trigger a costly election with a costly budget. Why not present an affordable budget so that Canadians can have an affordable life? The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation. Well, it's very clear that each word that comes out of Conservative members' mouth actually comes out of the Conservative leader's office. If they want to talk about the future, it's remarkable that when we see the lack of seriousness they show at question period, that Canadians chose a serious government that gives more purchasing power to the middle class, more opportunity to youth, that is creating more big projects to build our country. For once, I would invite the Conservatives to show some ambition for Canada and to support us in this budget. The Honourable Member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, well, we are very nervous about what the Liberals are coming up with here. We were expecting $42 billion of deficit, but things are going to actually be much worse. This Liberal government is completely disconnected from reality. It is just spending and spending. Each dollar that the Liberals are spending is coming directly out of the pockets of people in my riding. Mr. Speaker, why not table an affordable budget to make Canadians' lives affordable? The Honourable Government House Leader. Well, it may not be in the notes that the Leader of the Conservatives just gave my colleague, but he should speak to his colleagues who have been slowing down the adoption of Bill C4, which would lower taxes for all those who pay income tax in Canada, which lowers the GST on homes for first-time homebuyers, and which also eliminates the carbon tax. The member across the way should stop slowing down that bill. That will bring more affordability to all of Canada.
Kamloops Thompson-Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, I spent much of my legal career prosecuting internet offenses against children. This included possession of child sexual abuse material. Let's be clear, victims often serve a psychological life sentence. Last week, the Supreme Court of Canada struck down the mandatory 1 year in jail for possession of child sexual abuse and exploitation material. The minister said today that he won't use the notwithstanding clause on this ruling. So the question is this: why are the rights of victims second and the rights of sex offenders first?
That's a solid question.
Mr. Speaker, through actions, we are standing up for victims of crime. Plain and simple. Mr. Speaker, child abusers should face the toughest penalties under Canadian law. That's why we introduced C4.
These are obviously important issues, and therefore we deserve important debate. So the Secretary of State, from the top.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The rights of victims are very important to this government. That is why we have been taking action. And let me make it very plain and simple to the Conservatives, Mr. Speaker. Child abusers should face the toughest penalties under Canadian law. That is why we introduced C-14. We're making reforms, sweeping reforms, Mr. Speaker, that make bail stricter, that make sentences tougher, and that make sure that child abusers stay behind bars. Mr. Speaker, we also introduced lawful access so that we can catch child predators and we can give law enforcement the tools that are needed, Mr. Speaker, but the Conservatives are against it.
The honourable member for Kamloops, Thompson, Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, Bill C-14 has nothing to do with mandatory minimums for those who possess and produce child sexual abuse and exploitation material.
Yeah, it's all buried with
I have
other
looked
crap.
far too many victims in the eye to feel comfortable giving the answer that the minister just gave, Mr. Speaker. Victims don't want excuses, they want action. We often hear about charter rights for the accused, including pedophiles, but we don't hear about rights for the victims. If the minister has ruled out using the notwithstanding clause, what's his plan to take sex offenders off our streets?
He ain't got a plan.
Mr. Speaker, we've been taking action on this issue since day one. We introduced legislation called C-63 that made sexual offenses online, but the Conservatives did not support it, Mr. Speaker. We brought lawful access provision so that child pedophiles can be caught, Mr. Speaker, but the Conservatives did not support it.
So I'm interested in hearing this answer. So the Secretary of State... Secretary of State may continue.
Mr. Speaker, child abusers are amongst the most reprehensible in our society. That is why we've taken many measures like C-63, like C-14, and like lawful access provisions so that they can be caught in the first place, Mr. Speaker. We're also going to be bringing forward new legislation.
That's why you let them out on bail?
The Honourable Member for Charlebourg-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, the recent Supreme Court decision, which stated that 1 year of imprisonment for having accessed or possessed child sexual abuse material, saying that this was cruel and unusual punishment, is a real insult to the victims of these crimes. The Conservative government had hardened minimum sentences for this content. It's very clear that this government, and I wonder why, is more protecting the rights of pedophiles than the rights of children.
Mr. Speaker, we are all about protecting the rights of children. That is why we want to give law enforcement the tools that are needed to catch predators online. We brought forward tougher sentences for child offenders. These child abusers should be put behind bars, and that is exactly where we intend to keep them through C-14 and the new legislation that we're going to be tabling in this House this fall.
The Honourable Member for Bourassa. Mr. Speaker, the global economy is at a critical moment. The international trade system is experiencing upheaval.
He's going to blame Trump, right?
And today, new tariffs seem like the rule rather than the exception. Our country is facing economic difficulties and more uncertainty.
There you go. Yeah, it's always America's fault.
Our main trade partner is no longer as reliable as it used to be, which is making our economy go through a more precarious period.
It's never our fault. It's never Canada's fault. It's always someone else's fault.
Can the Minister for Canada-U.S. Trade tell the House
ironic
why this is a historic investment budget? The Honourable Minister for Canada-U.S. Trade. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank our colleague for Bourassa for this question. This is a period of transformation, and we are laying the groundwork for significant investments, the most significant in Canada since the Second World War. Mr. Speaker, Canadians elected an ambitious government, a government that will take strong action to build a resilient economy. And the good news, Mr. Speaker, is that in just a few moments, the House of Commons will get all of that good news I know that all parliamentarians are looking forward to it.
For Mission Mastery Abbotsford.
Mr. Speaker, every dollar the Liberal government spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians in the form of higher taxes and inflation. The Prime Minister tells young Canadians to sacrifice, yet Liberal insiders are thriving. Case in point, as Canadians give up on home ownership, this government handed out over $30 million in bonuses to 99% of housing agency executives, averaging $43,000 per bonus. Instead of trying to cause a costly election on a costly budget, why not an affordable budget for an affordable life?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This new government has a very credible plan for building affordable housing. We are focused on delivering that affordable housing. $13 billion has been committed in this new budget. We hope the Conservatives will support this if they care about affordable housing. But, Mr. Speaker, they've voted against every affordable housing measure for 10 years now.
That's right.
I don't expect a lot from them, but when Canadians, and they're raising it in the House here, young Canadians need affordable housing, we expect their support on this budget.
Honourable Member for Calgary Skyview.
Mr. Speaker, after 10 years, Liberal insiders have never had it so good. Canadians line up at food banks while this government lets $50 million IBM contract at CRA blow past $119 million. On track for $214 million. Young Canadians are told to sacrifice, so Liberal-linked insiders, consultants can get rich. Canadians are stuck paying the bill. Instead of a costly election on a costly budget, why not affordable budget for an affordable life by cancelling consultants?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I got great news to the party opposite. We have an affordability measure that maybe they may be interested in, Mr. Speaker. It's automatic federal benefits.
Wow.
Giving benefits to 5.5 million Canadians that need them the most. Canada Child Benefit, Disability Tax Credit, GST credit. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we are laser focused on affordability for Canadians. The other side continues with the rhetoric and same old slogans. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Similkameen, South Okanagan, West Kootenay.
Mr. Speaker, every dollar the Liberal government spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians in the form of higher taxes and inflation. The Prime Minister tells young Canadians they need to sacrifice. While more families than ever are lining up at food banks, this Liberal government is using Canadian tax dollars to fund a whopping $25 billion a year on outside consultants. Instead of trying to cause a costly election on a costly budget, why not an affordable budget for an affordable life?
Good question. The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, this is an historic day for our House. I thought we'd all be together. This is a historic day for our country. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we deliver affordability for Canadians, cutting taxes for 22 million Canadians. We cut the tax for GST for first-time home buyers. We are focused on affordability, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we will deliver for Canadians. We got a mandate on April 28th to deliver affordability. The other side has handed one sheet around all question period. Same old rhetoric, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Prescott Russell Cumberland.
Mr. Speaker, the world faces unprecedented uncertainty as the norms and institutions that underpinned global security and prosperity over the last half-century have been tossed aside as a new era of protectionism has begun. I'll be blunt. Voters in my riding of Prescott-Russell Cumberland are anxious about what this new world order means for Canada. Can the Secretary of State for Financial Institutions and CRA let those people know how Budget 2025 will meet this unique and historical moment?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the member for giving me the opportunity to inform the House that today we will table an historic budget that will spend less on operations and invest more in Canada. Mr. Speaker, the member opposite may not believe it, but we will build the strongest economy in the G7. This is the largest investment in our country since the Second World War. We will build big, we will build bold, and we will build Canada strong. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
First responders, nurses, and healthcare workers serve and protect our communities every day.
Yeah, that's my guy
They
right
put their
here.
uniforms on every day, knowing that their lives will be on the line, that they run towards danger. They mend our broken bones. They hold our hand as we take our last breath.
He's big on mental health.
What we've
for men.
just seen by this Liberal government is shameful. Just before QP, I rose and asked for unanimous consent to pass a law that would protect firefighters, nurses, paramedics today, immediately, right now. The Liberals are using our frontline heroes as pawns in their political games. The minister has the power. Will he give unanimous consent to pass S-233?
Good question.
There you go. Attaboy. That is my MP.
Frank. The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, I see I've been missed by my friends opposite. I have good news. On the subject that grounds the member's question, this is one where I think we can collaborate in a nonpartisan way. The government has just tabled legislation, Bill C-14, that includes protections for first responders by adding aggravating factors to their sentences, which will result in harder penalties for those who commit assaults against our first responders. If we're going to count on first responders to keep our communities safe, the least we can do is offer the protection of Canada's criminal law. I will work across party lines with that member and with Conservatives in the Senate to adopt adoptions that will protect first responder as soon as possible.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Strathcona.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians do not want coal mines destroying our cherished rock.
There's too much ambient noise.
She could have kept speaking, but she chose not to.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Strathcona.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians do not want coal mines destroying our cherished Rocky Mountains. 4 years ago, the minister promised new coal mine selenium regulations that would protect our rivers and lakes from toxic pollution. And now we discover that instead of providing protection, the Liberals are allowing a dramatic increase in the pollutants going into rivers and lakes. This government is betraying its promise to Canadians. When will this government finally put the health of Canadians and the environment ahead of foreign interests?
Minister of the Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, we have been very clear that we are going to continue to fight for clean air and clean waters for our next generations to come. As we continue to build Canada, we're going to build it well, and we will continue to make sure that we are protecting the environment at the same moment that we are building an economy with good jobs for the future. My job as Minister of Environment is to make sure that we continue to fight for the environment, and I will do it.
Bravo. The Honourable Member for Courtenay Alberni.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are being bled dry at the pump, at the grocery till, on their credit cards and mortgages, and by cell phone bills that just keep climbing, while corporate giants post record profits. Last year, RBC made $16 billion, Rogers $1.7 billion, Loblaws over $2 billion, and Imperial Oil almost $1 billion last quarter alone. How much profit is enough? And will this Liberal government include a corporate excess profit tax in this budget to finally protect Canadians from runaway corporate greed?
Honourable Ministre de l'Industrie.
Mr. Speaker, I agree with my colleague. We need to make sure that we work together on making the life of Canadians more affordable. And that's why we believe in competition. That's why also we took a bold decision when it comes to telecommunications fees and upholding the CRTC decision to make sure there's more competition and therefore lower fees for Canadians. But we'll do more, and he just needs to read the budget regarding what's going to happen when it comes to our competition across the country. Thank you.
It being 3:09, the House will now proceed to the taking of the deferred recorded division on the motion to concur in the first report of the Standing Committee on Human Resources Skills.
All right. That piece is done. Next up is the budget. So the budget will be dropped semi soon. In about just under an hour is when they're expecting it to drop. I thought QP would run a little bit longer, but no, they're not. So we're going to take a look now at CBC. They're running They're running a panel right now. They're live. We're going to take a look at what they're saying because for the next hour, it's strictly about the budget. That's all it is. I hope you guys enjoyed question period. We're going to keep it going. We're going to keep streaming. As you can see, I've got my salad right here. I've got my salad. I've got some more coffee. My wife's making sure that I'm fed and that I'm good to go. I'd recommend if you need to stretch your legs, get up, do that now. Get yourself a coffee, get yourself a bite to eat, do whatever. But we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep going here. I got I got CBC pulled up ready to go. Okay, here we go, folks. Here we go.
You know, certainly upwards of $60 billion, maybe $70 billion. Brian, when Canadians see that, what should they keep in mind? Because the government obviously is going to frame it as, well, we're investing, so we're not too concerned about the size of the deficit right now. What will you be watching for?
Yeah, well, first, it is. It's a little bit larger as we go forward. It'll be a large number. Historically, you know, this 2% of GDP potentially is not a huge relative to the 1990s. So it will be. It's not historic in that sense, but it will be important. I think the messaging around where the government's putting their money and where the funding will be going to. It is, as Don said, incentivizing hopefully large projects, getting some of these historic types of projects like LNG, for example, in BC, moving and getting that to export markets in the future. But at the same time, I think, again, telling the markets that they are paring back the growth in the public service over the last few years. And we had over 20% growth since about 2019 in the public service. That's far dwarfed the private sector. So I think that's really going to be the messaging, is that bring that back a bit more in terms of that program spending, but really driving some of that short-term growth around infrastructure of schools, of hospitals with the infrastructure fund, and looking to the future. And I think that's probably going to resonate pretty well.
Don, would you, is there any number that would be acceptable in terms of the size of a deficit if the debt to GDP ratio remains
under
on the decline,
billion.
or would you be concerned if it was, you know, let's say closer to $100
40.
billion, as some economists have thought?
Well, I think, you know, we're looking at it in a holistic way, not so much as one particular number. We want to see the direction and how this is all going to be funded. And we also want to keep a keen eye on, you know, the debt service costs. What are they going to look like as a share of our revenue? So those are the types of numbers I think that we're going to pull those out. And if they seem reasonable and achievable, you know, then it's going to be palatable, I guess, for Canadians.
I'll go back to you, Brian. Do you think that this level of spending, if we expect it to be in the tens of billions, I mean, you just have to add up all the things that Rafi just laid out there. How can that level of government spending spur growth in the economy? What kind of impact do you think it could have into next year?
Well, I think first, some of these major projects that either going to incentivize them to start, they won't have immediate impacts. It will take time for investment decisions to be made. We could be looking, when I go back to sort of the original LNG projects in BC, it took years for those to actually come into actual construction. But I think, you know, when we look at, you know, how this is going to ultimately occur, we'll see some of that investment cycle pick up. I also, hopefully, we're going to see, especially in areas like BC, you know, Ontario.
That's kind of the problem, though, is that
we're still in an affordability crisis
forever to
for
get
housing,
done in Canada.
even though
you shouldn't
housing
have
construction
to
is
wait
likely to
years from when
fall.
something
So
gets approved
even
to when it actually gets started,
through
like
various measures like taxes,
shovels in the ground or whatever.
in order to spur
That's
some
part
of
of the
that
problem.
house building going forward is a good thing, I think, over the longer term.
And Don, I'll just end on you. This is not going to make up for having a trade problem with the United States. This is still our biggest trading partner, and whatever the government has come up with today is not going to replace the challenges that some sectors are facing right now. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, as Brian said, it's going to take time to get some of this money to work. So it really is having a credible plan, saying we're going to be achieving these goals. It's going to take some time, but also to encourage this investment, to get confidence up that we are going to be turning the dial in terms of making it just easier to do business here.
Okay, Brian Yu, Chief Economist with Central One Credit Union in Vancouver, Don Desjardins, Chief Economist with Deloitte Canada in Toronto. Thank you both so much for setting the stage. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As we were talking about there, mentioned, housing is really one of the most urgent concerns right across the country. The government has dumped already billions into the housing fund. But my next guest is a parent whose family is going through a housing crisis right now, and we'll be watching this closely. Terry Singer is joining us from Halifax today. Good to see you, Terry.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So something that Canadians are like accustomed to is when you see construction taking place, like a condo, a mall, a new business, or even a road. You know, when you're driving down a certain part of your town and there's like a new road that's like they're doing construction on the road, they're fixing the pipes or extending it, getting rid of the bike lane or adding in a bike lane. So in Canada, we go through many seasons of seeing the same construction taking place. We'll go through summer, we'll go through fall, we'll go through winter, we'll go through spring, we'll go through summer again, we'll go through fall, we'll go through winter, we'll go through spring, and then all of a sudden now, oh yeah, okay, it's like pretty much done. That's not normal. Like other countries around the world can get stuff done so much quicker. So much quicker, even working on the roads. Like our roads are not better. They don't massage your feet. They don't give you a back massage while you're driving down. They don't bring your credit score up because you drive down that road. Like it's just a road. It's the same materials that other countries use and put it down the same way, except Canada takes forever to get shit done. That's a problem in Canada. So even if this budget is huge, which we're expecting it to be, it still takes forever to get anything done. It's so annoying. It shouldn't be that way, but it is.
But it's just really hard, and it's really hard to find anything right now. There's a lot of people looking for work, and ultimately my doctor did end up putting me off on disability. So I haven't actually been able to work for the last year or even seek work. Which means I have to rely on government assistance, unfortunately, for the time being, until I'm well enough to go back to work.
And you've got 3 kids who have also been living through this instability, right? High food prices, not knowing where you guys are going to live. How are they dealing with things?
Well, there's been many nights where my husband or myself will have missed a meal just to make sure that my kids have something. We're not the only family facing that. And unfortunately, it's with the... when you buy groceries at the same price and you're getting like a fraction of that amount, it just doesn't stretch as far, right? Yeah. So, and especially being homeless, like I ran my numbers were, it was almost triple. Going from a home with a full kitchen so that I could cook my meals, and then going into a hotel where we only had a microwave and a mini fridge. A lot of families are still living in hotels right now, and there just isn't anywhere else for them to go.
What are you, I know reading a budget's probably not top of mind when you're dealing with all these real problems, but what are you hoping to see? What would make a difference for you and your family right now?
More government handouts.
I would love to see a priority put on affordable housing being built, because the housing that is being built in Halifax is not affordable, unfortunately. And to be fair, it is a business. They are trying to turn a profit so they can maintain their business. But the government should, in my opinion, step up just a little bit more and maybe put more housing stock on the market. Because
Why
that's really
is it
what
the
we're
government's
facing right now.
responsibility? Like, this is the problem with Canadians. Why is it the government's responsibility to build more housing? It's always and should have always remained in the private sector. The government should not be the ones constructing or in charge of constructing houses. The government's responsibility is making sure that it's a certain standard to get permits and that's it, right? But right now, the government has abused their power and made it so impossible, so lengthy, and such an expensive process to get all the permits. That's why you hear the Conservatives say we need to cut the red tape, because the government's involvement in home building or construction to any capacity is they've made it longer, they've made it more expensive, and they made it a very big hassle. That's not okay. Now you want those same people to literally be building the houses? Get the fuck out of here. Come on. Come on, dude.
Shortage of housing stock.
Okay. Terry Singer, thank you. Thanks for talking so honestly and frankly about your situation. I'm sure lots of Canadians can relate.
Yeah, what a load of crock. What a load of crock. The problem is that people, they just want the government to solve their issues, right? We need more government. Please, government, save me. Please, government, save me. And that's annoying when you're relying, when you have a society that's relying so much on a government, you get Canada. And look at where we are right now. Look at where we are right now. Not good. Would you rather have more government or less government? All right, more government or less government. That's kind of what we're fighting against right now with the different parties and stuff like that. And well, we didn't win, unfortunately. That's weird. Anyways, let's see what's going on in the House. They're doing some sort of vote in the House here. Switch over. Concurrent in committee reports. Standing Committee on Human Sources, Skills. I'm doing you all a favor, by the way, by blocking out the sound. You're not missing anything. It's just stupid classical music. Yay. So everyone's voting Carney, Freeland. Everyone's voting for this. Youth employment in Canada. Okay. There you go. At least they can agree on something. So we're going to let that play out. And we're going to pop back into the CBC feed and see what Rosemary Barton, what kind of people she's bringing back in to interview. Hey, your life is horrible and you can't afford anything. What do you want to see in the federal budget? Like that's kind of weird and sadistic if you think about it. Bring it on. Like a normie like that to complain about their problems and then and then say, so what are you expecting in the federal budget? That's so funny. All right. Let's have a look-see poo here. CBC's back on.
Ask us to build big, bold things. They expect us to do things differently. So we're going to make generational investments that will build our country.
Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne yesterday at a pre-budget tradition of selecting some new shoes ahead of tabling the budget is just tradition, but it can be a hint, symbolism of what the budget may hold. The theme of building things in Canada. Look, he's building his own shoes. Champagne visited a boot factory in Quebec to do that. He walked away with a pair of black Oxford-style dress shoes. In just over half an hour, he will table the first budget of this government, of Mark Carney's government. And the countdown will be on then for the Prime Minister, the government, to find some opposition support and avoid triggering a snap election, which would be the second of the year. The Liberals have 169 seats, a minority. That is just three seats shy of a majority, and that means they need to find at least 3 MPs to either support the budget or abstain to make sure that they survive the confidence vote on the budget.
I am 100% confident that this budget is the right budget for this country at this moment.
But the other parties are less sure. Leader of the official opposition, Pierre Poilievre, wouldn't say whether his party plans to support the budget or not, insisting he needs to read the document before deciding.
I would like a zero deficit, but the Liberals have put us in this mess, and I work with what I got.
A key demand the Conservatives have laid out ahead of the budget is keeping the deficit below $42 billion. The Liberals' best bets for those 3 votes or abstentions could be from the NDP.
We have said that we want a budget that invests, cutting good family-sustaining jobs that exist in the public service at a time when we want to create jobs. It doesn't seem right to us. But, we're going to see where the cuts are.
Davies says there is a scenario where some of his party's MPs, who represent 7 votes, could abstain. That option is not on the table for the Bloc Québécois. The party's finance critic says the party's 22 votes hinge on what the party says are 6 non-negotiable demands.
If the government decides to not meet our demands and to let sick people in hospital without transfers and elderlies without pensions and first home buyers without a bit of help,
out of the 6.
We will have no choice, but that will not be our decision.
Now, if the Liberals aren't able to secure those 3 votes or abstentions, Canadians could find themselves facing an early election.
Are you prepared to fight an election on this budget?
I'm always prepared to stand up for the right thing.
So let's talk a little bit about the politics and what we can expect. Rob Russo is the Canada correspondent with The Economist, former CBC Parliamentary Bureau Chief. Ian Bailey, reporter with The Globe and Mail, and the CBC's Jason Markusoff is in Calgary. Some journalists that aren't in the lockup.
Yes,
And we're glad to have you all here. I'm going to start with you, Rob. In terms of your expectations, we've heard a little bit more. The Globe first reporting this morning about this big fund, infrastructure fund, spending fund. What are you hoping? What are you thinking we'll see in this budget?
Well, I'm looking for a couple of things. One of them is political, and I think it's probably the most important given the electoral state. It's the first political objective I think that the Prime Minister has to make and meet with this budget is, does it give people hope? There is a dearth of hope out there. If you're young, if you're looking for your first home, if you're looking for your first job, if you're a steel or aluminum worker in Jonquière or in Sault Ste. Marie, if you're an auto worker in Ontario, you're looking for hope, or a forestry worker in the interior of BC. Does it give people hope that that is going to turn around at some point? Also, does it give international capital confidence, hope that Canada can get big things done? Those are the political objectives. Then the economic objectives are different, I think. Is there a credible sign that this government is going to reduce expenditures over a set period of time? And is he investing in things that actually generate revenue, increase productivity? Is there definite signs of that? Those are the 2 or 3 things I'll be looking for.
Ian, how about you? That $50 billion fund is huge. I mean, maybe over 10 years, but it still would generate a lot of spending in communities and in provinces.
It's a big piece of this budget, and one of the things I'm looking forward to is seeing Finance Minister Champagne get out of Ottawa. He's going to be in Montreal tomorrow. He's going to be in Vancouver at the end of the week. I'm going to be very interested to see how this plays out in Canada, watching reports from different parts of the country as he goes and tries to sell this budget, and also as the Prime Minister goes to sell this budget. This is a really compelling, important document in the story of Mark Carney, who was outside of elected politics like a year ago. I'm interested as well. Obviously, we're in a trade dispute with the United States, so I'll be interested in seeing how that is phrased, talked about, any measures in the budget that deal with that. And I'm not sure whether I should expect a Truth Social posting, but will the Americans be watching this budget? Will they be watching what's said? And will we get a reaction from the United States? One other thing, I'm a nerd for submarines, so I'm very interested in seeing how some of the details about how this incredible move to get subs as part of
they're not
defense
even
spending
good subs.
is going to work out.
They're
One
old,
last
they're
thing,
diesel
public
subs, they're not
servants,
nuclear-powered subs. Like, again, it's so stupid.
Governments have gone to the well of public servants in past. Mr. Harper, obviously Mr. Martin, under Mr. Chrétien many years ago. This is a city, especially in the core not far from here, that is having some challenges. Ontario's second most populous city related to public servants. So I'm going to be interested to see. Also, of course, I'm married to a public servant, and in terms of the impact on these workers, what's going to happen, what we're going to hear in the next hour or so.
How much that reduction will actually be and how much it'll save the government, given that the federal government did grow over the past decade at least under Justin Trudeau. Jason, how about there? How about out west? What are you maybe looking for?
I think I'll be looking for the extent to which Minister Champagne was correct in saying that there will be no surprises. I think in saying the surprises that this budget will truly be remembered. I mean, yes, the deficit will be a big memory depending on the size of it. If it's a surprise, of course, it's going to stoke more passion, certainly on the Conservative side. But we're looking for, these cuts to public service, these cuts to public spending, will they extend beyond public service themselves and go into services people rely on? Will there be be particular groups that feel left out or particularly hurt because programs were cut entirely. Regionally speaking, there is expectation that there will be support for. The problem is there are so many groups needing support right now: canola farmers in the prairies, forestry workers in BC and say New Brunswick and many other places, steel workers, auto workers. Of course, in Alberta, we'll be looking not at what he spends, but at the climate competitiveness strategy that's also supposed to come out, and whether there'll be some cuts to some of the programs or policies like the oil and gas emissions cap. And what kind of surprise will there be for environmentalists or people who believe that the Liberals were a climate party? And I think it's there where we'll see where where other opposition parties support or don't support this. If there are surprises, people angry. If this budget goes over like a broccoli cake at a kid's birthday party, then your politicians and other parties may feel more easy to try to go to an election and fight on it.
Who's trying to give kids a broccoli cake? I don't know where you live there, Jason. But so let's talk about where the support comes from, because everyone that I've been talking to over the past number of days, not willing to say what they're going to do. We're going to read it first. That's all fair. Yeah. But there are some scenarios, I think, that are more likely than others, Rob.
Well, we began to see a little bit of backpedaling, I think. I think your excellent interview with Mr. Poiliev showed that he was prepared to read the budget first before he decided whether or not he was going to support it. I would be very, very surprised if Conservatives, the official opposition, rarely votes with the government on a money bill. The last one I remember was, I think, Stephen Harper voting in favor of a health accord that Paul Martin had brought in because he thought it made sense. But I'd be surprised if that happened here.
The opposition's job is to oppose.
So there are lots of possibilities, though. The New Democrats are not exactly a party. Right now, they're not an official party. They're not a unified caucus as it is. It's possible that the Conservatives or others who may be able to read the scarlet letter that would be put on them by the electorate, I don't think anybody wants to be blamed for bringing in an election, but they may just say, we don't support this budget, but we don't want an election. We're just not going to show up. We're going to walk out or do something dramatic to display disgust or something. They could do that. There could be a floor crossing. We've seen floor crossings in the past. Anything's possible, which is why I love these kinds of events.
I mean, there might be some drama. We would hope for that, but it would be hard to see how a party right now would force an election, given that it's not like things have improved since the spring. In fact, you could argue that they've gotten worse now that talks are off.
Well, I'm thinking about recipes for broccoli cake, but back to the NDP, they don't have a leader. They have an interim leader. Don Davies is a fine fellow.
Yeah, I mean, they lost their party status.
Who would be their leader in an election? And they have applicants for the job, but the job is not being given to anyone. So an election for them would be probably catastrophic. And Conservatives, may want to hold off a while to force an election, see how things play out. So it doesn't seem like an election is possible. Certainly the Government House Leader McKinnon and Prime Minister there from the APEC Summit are cranking up the pressure, but I can't see an election. But the budget does give the Conservatives and the NDP and even the Bloc a chance to sort of get out there, rile things up, stir up their bases, show that they're on the job. And so that may explain the volume and the intensity of some of the remarks we're hearing.
Well, even with the $50 billion fund there, if it's going to fund health infrastructure, health clinics, you could see that the Bloc could find a way maybe to support that too, even though it doesn't do everything that the Bloc wanted. Jason, what do you make of the politics? There's a lot of posturing, and that is what's sort of great about a minority government, but it also is hard to read in terms of how this actually ends up.
Yeah, I mean, it was how many of the last several budgets over the last 20 years since 2006 have been minority parliament. So, the Liberals have been through this, of course, without the benefit of the Supply and Confidence Agreement that helped them through the latter part of the Jagmeet Singh years. I would expect that most of the leaning goes on the 7 members of the New Democrats for them to at least enough to step aside. One other consideration that the Conservatives are going to have, while yes, they might not want to go to an election, people might see that as the worst broccoli cake of all, if I'm going to bludgeon that metaphor to death. But also, cast ahead to 2 months from now, or a bit more than 2 months from now, Pierre Poilievre is going to be looking for support in a leadership review from party members at the convention in Calgary, the National Convention for the Conservative Party. And how many Conservative base who would like nothing more than for the Conservatives to dump the Liberals once and for all after 4 failed tries, will they have the stomach to accept this leader if this leader led to the government, this Liberal government, staying on and supported a budget that has such a high deficit.
Rob Russo, Ian Bailey, Jason Markusoff, thank you all for being here and setting the stage for us. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
We are not too far away now from the tabling of the budget,
Yeah,
under
less than
half
30
an
minutes
hour.
away.
And soon also we'll see the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister. They're going to meet briefly to exchange pleasantries because they both know what's in the budget. But you will find out in just under half an hour's time.
Okay. 30 more minutes, folks. 30 more minutes. Do you think it's going to be good? Do you think it's going to be bad? Let me know what you guys think down below. I'm anticipating personally probably close to a $100 billion deficit. That's what I'm personally thinking. I don't know if it'll get that high. I don't know if it'll go higher than that. But you never know. You never know. I think there's a poll in the live chat right now. What do you think the budget will be? Under 75 billion, 76 to 99 billion, and over 100 billion. And so far, the majority of the answers in the live chat poll are showing over $100 billion. So instead of typing it down, make sure you cast your, I almost said your ballot, cast your vote in that poll, and we'll see what's up. So they are talking a little bit of back and forth here in the House. I'm just going to swap it over so that you guys can see. I don't think anyone wants to watch this, though.
Je le répète, c'est ça qu'il a dit, parce que imaginez-vous s'il y avait eu plus de députés d'un autre parti, ça ne serait pas passé de même. C'est tellement de la folie que ça n'est drôle, M. le Président.
Question et commentaire, l'honorable
Question
député
and
de
commentaire, yeah,
Pointe-Télé.
see what I'm saying? Like, no one wants to see that. You know what I'm saying? No one wants to see that. So we're going to stick to the feed, just showing you guys, you know, for those who think, oh, is the grass greener on the other side? What's going on in the House? Show us what's going on in the House. That's what's going on in the House. A couple Frenchies are talking to themselves in French, and that's it. That's all. Like, haha, oui, poutine, escargot, oh, budget. Yeah, no, nothing's going to happen. So we know that the Bloc is asking for 6 things. 6 things the Bloc wants. And the government has said they'll give them 1 out of those 6. The NDP has some non-negotiables. So really this comes down to, like, I'm pretty sure, like 98% sure that Pierre's going to vote against the budget because that's what the oppositions do. The Bloc, pretty certain they're going to vote against it for those who are just tuning in. And the NDP, we might be having a three-peat of what's happened the past couple of years where the NDP has a coalition with Mark Carney, pitcher and catcher style. You know what I'm saying? Not 68, not 70, but 69. So we don't know what's going to happen. It's literally a coin toss on whether it gets approved or whether it gets denied. But what we do know is if it gets denied, bada bing, bada boom, federal election will be taking place sometime soon. And that's why you've heard the Liberals consistently say, if the Conservatives vote down our budget, they're going to be triggering a election. Yeah, here we go.
Federal budget being tabled, the first one under Mark Carney's government, the first one by François-Philippe Champagne, the finance minister, a budget that is expected to create a much bigger deficit, billions more, but also, the government says, to invest heavily in the Canadian economy, to make it stronger, generational investment at what the Prime Minister has called a hinge moment in Canada. Of course, this is all happening with the specter of Donald Trump's tariffs hanging over the budget, right over the Canadian economy. Prime Minister Mark Carney had previously said, and continues to say, in fact, that Canada has the best deal with CUSMA still in place. But the president has called off negotiations, and he's threatened a further increase of 10% tariffs because of that ad that Ontario ran last week.
Well, that was a bullshit ad.
And we need tariffs for national security, and they totally turned it around because they're getting hurt by tariffs and we're gaining by tariffs.
We stand ready to pick up on that progress and build on that progress when the Americans are ready. What we can control, absolutely, is how we build here at home. And that's the focus of Budget 2025, generational investment here in Canada.
That ad that Ontario ran has, of course, since been pulled, though using the words of Ronald Reagan about free trade that seemed to anger the president. The prime minister says that he did apologize to the president when he saw him during that
Yeah, but if
Asia
the shoe was
swing
on the
that he
other
just
foot,
got back from.
Like, let me pause. That was total accident. I didn't mean to pause her like that. That'd be a great thumbnail. All right. I forget my train of thought, honest to God. I had something so good to say, and pausing it on her face like that just took my thought away.
And the prime minister also confirmed that he did tell Premier Doug Ford not to run the ad. So those talks, those negotiations, still at a stand.
I remember my train of thought now. Imagine if America was launching ad campaigns, like paid ad campaigns, where they've put together a video and then they spend money on social media and on billboards and newspapers and TV ads, where it's literally like America invading Canada, or it's America acquiring Canada as a 51st state, and just completely negating the fact that Canada is a sovereign country. I mean, I put that in soft quotation marks, and just says, you know what, Canada's a 51st state. It's amazing. You don't need a passport anymore. Like, imagine if Canada or if America did that. You think Canadians would be like super happy about it? Maybe some of you would. I could probably throw myself in that mix, but our politicians would be pissed. They'd be furious. Our prime minister would be like, "Hey, you can't do that." So I know it's a little different than what Doug Ford just did. 'Cause it wasn't like, "Hey, we're invading your nation." We're just taking things out of context from past presidents. I get that it's different. I'm comparing apples to, bananas or something, but the premise is still there that it would be like very shitty for Canada to be receiving that, and Canada would be very angry if America did that, right? So America has the right to be angry at Canada for doing what they did, and then bragging about it. Hey, oh yeah, we've gotten $12 billion impressions on the ad. It's successful. It just depends how you define success. If success is pissing off Trump, then yeah, sure, that was successful.
And still at this time, with hopes of getting back to the table when it makes sense or when the Americans are ready to do that. Part of the budget, of course, that we've been talking about is about generational investment. Those are the words the government has been using to describe it. It is expected to take place in the form of what the government is calling a climate competitiveness strategy. That will also be inside this budget. That is supposed to help Canada's various industries and economies stay competitive in a world rapidly turning to clean energy and electric technologies. As we stand by and wait for the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister to appear, I want to bring in someone who could talk about what that strategy could look like. Bentley Allen is the Vice President of Future Economy at the Transition Accelerator, and he joins me from Washington today. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. It's great to be with you.
I may jump out if the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister appear, but let's start talking until that happens. So a climate competitiveness strategy inside a budget, or at least parts of it, what are you expecting that to look like? What kinds of things do you think will be included in that strategy?
For me, a climate competitiveness strategy really means, a strong statement on that Canada is all in on a battery and EV supply chain strategy that goes from coast to coast, that incorporates critical minerals, but also ends in dual-use manufacturing for the defense industry. And I don't know if we'll see direct investments in climate action per se, but I think that we'll see a lot of different investments that can help us to advance climate while also increasing our geopolitical resilience and diversifying our trade.
One of the things, I believe it's today, actually, that the EV review mandate was supposed to be over, the review part of it. I don't know if it's going to be referenced or dealt with inside the budget. But how much of the competitiveness strategy has to be about fighting climate change versus investing in future green opportunities?
Yeah, I think the key for Canada is to secure a strong position in these future global green value chains, and that is what climate competitiveness ultimately is about when we get right down to it. I think that the investments that we need to see are ones that build out our value chain, but we're also in a very dangerous time vis-a-vis the United States and the rest of the world, and we need to be making the kinds of investments here in Canada that will build out those value chains and create economic opportunities for Canadians while we're doing that. So we can really advance climate action and secure all of these other objectives that we need to in the current moment, all at the same time, really.
There has been some suggestion that the government might walk away from the emissions cap, the hard cap. Is that something you think might be in this budget, and how would you feel about that?
I do think that's the case, and it's not necessarily a bad thing for Canada to focus a little less on abstract emissions reductions and more on the concrete, real actions that we need to take in order to decarbonize this economy. When I think about progress on climate, I think about concrete outcomes in the real economy. I think about the buildings that are going to actually be decarbonized. I think about the mines that are going to be built. I think about the electric vehicles that are going to be put on the road. And we need a lot more focus on those real, concrete, short-term outcomes rather than these really abstract emissions reductions targets. And I think that's okay if the government rebalances our climate policy so that it's more and closer towards our industrial strategy. That's actually the ideal situation, that we really bring our climate action more in line with our broader industrial strategy.
Would you expect that? Because Mark Carney obviously has spent a lot of his life thinking about climate change and fighting climate change, but he is
but he wrote a book about climate change.
An economist. So how will you think that will affect how he tries to balance those two things that you're talking about there?
Yeah, I think that the government has made it clear that they think that we're in a really serious moment, both geopolitically, internationally, as well as domestically, and that they need to be really serious about delivering economic goals. So I do expect that to be the focus of things. If we look at what this government has actually said that its priorities are, for example, building a mass timber to housing value chain that scales the manufacturing in the center of the prefab and modular manufacturing in the center of that value chain, but also delivers real outcomes for Canadians. I expect that's where the emphasis is going to be in what we're about to see.
Well, we have heard the first round of major projects. We're expecting a second phase. There was also a new critical minerals strategy announced a week ago that Canada wants to play a big role in. And there's been talk about a pipeline. There's been talk about energy with the United States, whether it be Keystone or whether it be uranium. What kind of project funding would you hope to see around some of those issues, whether it be a pipeline, critical minerals, energy writ large?
Yeah, I think we'll definitely see dedicated funds for that. I think that on critical minerals specifically, we've actually already put a lot of subsidies on the table. We put $3.8 billion on the table a number of years ago, but we actually haven't seen progress as rapid as we would want on the development side. There's a lot of things holding mines back in Canada, but one of the critical things has been price uncertainty. And what the government tried to do last week was really address that price uncertainty. That price uncertainty is created by China's geopolitical control over the global minerals market. And what the government really tried to do in the case of Nouveau Monde graphite was give them a direct offtake that provided them with certainty that they were actually going to sell a certain amount of graphite at a certain kind of price. And that's the kind of bold action that is actually going to unlock mine development in this country. So I want dedicated funds to be used in that way to provide certainty for these companies rather than more subsidies.
Someone knows something because some Canadian stocks are pumping hard.
We know already that the government's
right
ditching the plan to plant 2 billion trees. Were you upset about that, or do you think that is a program that maybe didn't make sense in the end?
Yeah, I think that this is one of those things where when we're focusing too much on abstract emissions reductions targets, we think that things like planting trees are really great policies. But first of all, the science is not really settled actually on how much carbon is removed from planting a tree. It depends what ecosystem it's displacing. But actually the focus just needs to be not on generating credits, but on actually creating real outcomes in the Canadian economy, because it's the transformation of our economy that is going to both decarbonize that economy and position us in those global value chains that are continuing to be built regardless of what's happening south of the border.
Okay, Bentley Allen, really good to talk to you. I appreciate your perspective as we wait
Likewise,
to see
Rosemary, thank you so much.
What's in this budget. Thank you so much. Good of you to make the time. Okay, let's bring you right now inside the Prime Minister's office here in the West Block, where you can see Mark Carney meeting with his finance minister, François-Philippe Champagne. The first budget for both of them. Let's listen in here, see what they have to say.
So, Minister, this is an historic day, and it opens up a new era for the country. You will be presenting an ambitious budget.
This is, in many ways, a historic day. We're starting a new era. We know the world's changed. Our strategy has to change with it. And we choose Canada. We choose to advance. We choose to invest. historic investment, generational investment, everywhere from new partners abroad right down to new infrastructure at the local community, and of course millions of homes across this country. Congratulations. Merci beaucoup.
Well, thank you, Prime Minister. As the Prime Minister said, this is an investment budget. This is a generational shift. This is not just an ordinary transition. We're going to build this country like never before. We're going to protect our sovereignty. We're going to empower Canadians on the shop floor, in the fields, in their homes. So this is really a generational moment. So thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you for your vision, because that budget really, will give a roadmap to this country to attract more investment, to be more prosperous, more confident. So, merci, Monsieur le Premier Ministre. C'est un plaisir de
Thank you, Prime Minister. I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to present this budget. This is an historic moment for us and for the country. We're talking about generational investments, as the Prime Minister said, in our infrastructure and in productivity and competitiveness for the country, and of course affordable housing. So I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to present the plan to Canadians, and I think everyone will see their interest in this budget. Only some 25 minutes left before your speech, and we get the numbers.
It's a crucial time for the country, and I think it's not just that, as you just said, all Canadians will see themselves in the budget because it will help them all. But in many respects, and at its core, the budget reflects Canadians. Because the thing that struck me, I think struck you, as we went across the country from early in the year, Canadians wanted to come together, want to take control of our futures. That's what this does. This gives us control of our future. We're going to build together. We're going to build Canada strong, and we're starting right now.
Totally.
Merci beaucoup.
So we're ready. Merci tout le monde. Merci, Monsieur le Premier ministre.
Can we get a photo with the budget?
Sure.
Absolument.
Yes. Merci.
Yeah.
Thank you, James.
Oh, yeah.
On a trois.
On a trois.
Tous les chiffres sont les mêmes, alors. Ah bon?
Merci tout le monde.
Okay, there is the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, and his Finance Minister, François-Philippe Champagne, holding up the budget and talking about what they want Canadians to take away from it, saying that it is a budget that is meant to invest and is meant to protect Canada's sovereignty in the face, of course, of Donald Trump and other threats. The Prime Minister saying that this is a crucial time for the country, and the budget will reflect what Canadians want from the government right now. As this has been unfolding, I just want to bring you up to speed on something that our colleagues at Politico are reporting at this hour. They say they spoke directly to a Conservative MP, Nova Scotia MP, Chris D'Entremont, and that he told them, this is Politico reporting this at this stage, we have not independently confirmed it, that he is thinking about crossing the floor from the Conservatives to the Liberals and is going to decide in the next few days after reviewing the federal budget. So we will try and speak to Mr. D'Entremont as well. There had been rumblings of a possible floor crossing, but this is the first confirmation publicly. It would be that there is indeed a Conservative MP thinking about doing that. Hopefully we can get talking to him and bring him on this program or on Power and Politics a little bit later. One of the other things, of course, that this budget will address for many people, or they're hoping it will address, is rising unemployment. That is another sign.
Am I fucking retarded? Did I hear that properly? A Conservative is crossing the floor to Liberals? And gonna have to wait and see what happens in the next couple of days. Bro, what the fuck is going on? Am I losing my mind? Like, I feel like I'm going crazy. I'm sorry for pausing this, but I feel like I'm going nuts, man. And I need some, like, reassurance in the chat that I'm not going nuts. This is insane. A Conservative crossing to the Liberals. That would put them so much closer to a majority. I'm blown away. I'm blown away.
Of the weakness of the economy right now. The latest numbers show that unemployment in Canada just over 7%, according to Statistics Canada. The outlook, though, is even starker for people under the age of 25, with unemployment rising, sitting at 14.7%. That's the highest rate it's been since 2010, except, of course, during the pandemic years. But it has been a struggle for a lot of young people, a lot of university students and others. Camilla Lemus is a second-year student at Carleton University, worried about the cost of living herself and her employment prospects, and she joins me here in Ottawa. Camilla, nice to see you.
Hi, how are you?
I am good. Tell me what it's been like for you. You're in university, you're trying to save money, pay for things, and find work. What has that been like?
It's honestly been terrible. First year I was living on residence at Carleton. This year I entered the housing market and renting with my roommates. And it's been definitely an experience. This whole summer, I was trying to land a job in Ottawa. Wasn't able. Towards the end of the summer, I landed my first interview after 3 months of looking. And that job was 40 minutes away from my house. And as soon as I started school, it was so hard to manage school and work. But at the same time, I was dealing with having to pay $1,000 a month for rent, which is something that obviously, although I did foresee those costs last year when I was paying residents at Carleton, having that every month responsibility of paying $1,000 plus groceries, plus bills, plus all of these things was definitely hard. And having to manage school at the same time, it was way harder. It was either I worked and was able to hardly even afford
CBC's got like a
to
12-year-old as a
pay
guest talking about politics
my
and
rent
money.
my
What the hell is
groceries and
this?
all these responsibilities, or having to go to school and having to sacrifice, that academic performance and all of that. Yeah. So now I'm taking.
So what are you doing? How are you making it work?
Well, right now I had to go down in my course load, which is obviously making me fall behind overall, but it's just impossible to be able to work and also do a 5-course load or full course load. So right now I'm doing a 3-course load and I'm still at my work, but it's what I'm making with my $17.50, $18 an hour. It's barely anything for the things that I have to afford. So I do rely a little bit on O7 and student help government or help from the government, but at the same time it's not enough. It's definitely a struggle.
Yeah. Will you be looking at the budget to see if there's anything in there that would help you? What would help you at this stage?
Well, I know there's they're focusing on affordability and housing, but at the same time I'm worried because I don't know if that's gonna tackle students specifically. You know what I mean? I feel housing is a crisis that we are all facing as Canadians, but at the same time, I was talking to my roommates, we're competing with people that are earning that are able to work full time and are earning way more than we do. You know what I mean? We're earning the minimum, the student minimum, and then we're having to afford $3,000 houses or rent every month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Camilla, I get it. Yeah, and it sounds stressful and probably not like a stress you need as you're trying to get through university. But thank you for telling us about it. We appreciate you sharing your perspective, and we'll see if there's something here that might help.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thanks, Camilla. Nice to meet you. That's Camilla Luz. She is a second-year student at Carleton University here in Ottawa. We are now about 5 minutes away from the finance minister entering the House of Commons, if all is on time. And certainly this prime minister likes things to be on time, and tabling the budget.
The youth wants more government handouts. The youth wants more government handouts. And that's what COVID did, by the way. The audio is muted, so don't worry about it. That's what COVID did. It made people rely on the government, and now they're like, hey, but like I need more. Like I need more. Can you give me more? And now it's turning the youth into these liberal bots because they're like, well, we got help during like COVID and stuff, so like can't I get help with other stuff, with like my rent and like school and all this stuff? Oh my god, this is propaganda. Oh my goodness, dude, this is hard to see this unfold in real time.
Changes, but of course, Rosemary, we know that budgets are about priorities, and not everyone can have everything.
Nisha, maybe I'll just ask you one more question about Bay Street in terms of whether they are looking for something in specifically to try and, spur capital investment or try and get other countries and bigger companies from outside of this country to invest here.
Yeah, there could be some new tax measures. We know that Prime Minister Carney hinted last month that there would be some kind of review to make investing in Canada more attractive. We know that even before the trade dispute started, that Canada was suffering from a really serious productivity crisis, and they are looking for this Prime Minister to make it attractive to invest in Canada, to attract capital to this country, especially because we're competing with the U.S., which is also very competitive. Business on Bay Street and across the country really looking for some kind of certainty. This Prime Minister, I think they are optimistic that they will get some support here. In the last budget, there was that big surprise for the hiking of the capital gains inclusion rate. The business community was really in an uproar about that last year, saying that it would deter investment in Canada. I think that they're not going to see that kind of negative surprise from this budget.
Nisha Patel, thank you for giving us that perspective. Rafi, I'm going to come back to you and just ask you a last question as we wait for the finance minister to rise inside the House of Commons. David Cochrane here sitting next to me. We'll bring him in a moment, even though he can't tell us everything until François-Philippe Champagne starts speaking. But there's been posturing. The politics are still in doubt a little bit here. It does sound like everyone wants to take a read of things and see where things land.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting the same kind of thing from the opposition parties today. The Conservatives saying, they wanted that deficit kept to 42 billion. It doesn't feel like we're going that way. Also bringing up.
If you're wondering who the MP is that's crossing from Conservative to Liberal, it's the old House Speaker, man. The old House Speaker. The Conservative House Speaker. Holy crap.
Incidentally, there won't be a debate in the House of Commons for another few days, right? Because the House doesn't sit next week. No. So will he have made up his mind on whether he'll cross the floor by mid-November, which is when we would expect the budget vote? That's something to watch for. And then you've got the Bloc Québécois and the NDP kind of on the opposite side of the political spectrum, asking for government spending, in the Bloc's case on senior top-ups, in the NDP's case worried about these cuts that the government has been telegraphing. And so the question is, will they sort of lean towards voting for the budget or opposing it on principle? Or maybe abstaining. That's what the NDP said they could do too.
I'm not sure you can consider voting for the government's budget and stay in Conservative caucus, but we'll see how that unfolds for Christian Tremont. Rafi Boudjikanian, thank you so much. Appreciate that. You're seeing now inside the House of Commons, François-Philippe Champagne about to table Budget 2025. Remember, we haven't seen a budget in an awfully long time. So this will also give us a good sense of the country's finances. As soon as this starts happening, David Cochrane, who's sitting here beside me, will take us through what's in it.
Standing Order 83-1, I would like to table in both official languages the budget documents for 2025, including the Notice of Ways and Means motion. The details of the measures are contained in these documents. Pursuant to Standing Order 83-2, I am requesting that an order of the day be designated for consideration of these motion, Mr. Speaker. And with that, I will give that to the clerk.
Here, here, here.
Oh, we're freaking screwed. Oh, we are so screwed.
Monsieur le Président, honorable député de cette Chambre, chers Canadiens, chères Canadiennes, Le budget que je présente
Okay, the finance minister is on his feet, and he's going to take us through his speech, which we will dip into. But first, let's bring in David Cochran, the host of Power and Politics, who has been in the budget lockup and will take us through the highlights. David.
Yeah, here it is. It's called Canada Strong, Budget 2025. You can see all the tabs I've made. There's a lot in this, Rosie, including a big jump in the deficit. Let's start by walking through the numbers. The big number is the deficit this year. It is $78.3 billion. Now, that's not the $100 billion some people projected, but that's a heck of a lot higher than people are used to seeing in a non-COVID year, and it stays at an elevated rate in all the years after this, going out until 2030. You can see the $78.3 billion this year. It's going to be $65.4 billion next year, $63.5 billion the year after that.
Deficit.
Just shy of $58 billion and just shy of $57 billion by 2029, 2030. Broadly, Rosie, this year, in the next couple of years, the deficit is twice as high as we would have seen in the fall economic statement that Chrystia Freeland tabled in December, and growth is half of what was projected just 9-10 months ago. Now, you're at that deficit despite there being some significant cuts and downsizing in the size of the public service. There is going to be a net overall reduction in the size of the public service of nearly 10%. In this year alone, you're looking at 16,000 full-time equivalent jobs being eliminated, and that will go to about just shy of 40,000 jobs being eliminated by 2028, 2029.
That's
in
a
effect,
lot of
what's
public
happening is the
sector
civil
cuts.
service is being right-sized, to use the government's phrase, from its high of 368,000 people in 2023-24 to about 330,000 in 2028, 2029. That's the spend less so you can invest more. And on that, there is a series of investments in capital in particular. $115 billion towards infrastructure, $110 billion in productivity and competitiveness. That includes some tax incentives to get people to invest in equipment and in buildings. $30 billion in defense, just in capital in defense, Rosemary. There's a total of about $80 to $90 billion in defense over the next 5 years, a historic level of spending there, and $25 billion in home building. This is mostly the Canada Homes announcement that was made a few weeks back. To give you a sense of what is shifting here, program expenses normally grown by 8% a year is now growing by less than 1% a year. And this budget is shifting to capital. They're also going to try to bring down the population of the country by reducing the immigration targets. Permanent residents down from 395,000 to 380,000. But look at temporary residents.
That's a big cut on
This is
temporary
temporary
residents.
foreign workers. A massive reduction.
50%
673,000 down to 385,000. And one last thing to highlight, Rosie, and we can go through any of these measures as you so choose. And this is the climate competitiveness strategy. The emissions cap, it's on the books to be scrapped. It's essentially, there's a couple of conditions that need to be met. They need to finalize the methane emissions reductions. They need to deal with the industrial price becoming the core of the plan, an agreement on a beefed up and strengthened industrial carbon price that then becomes the engine that drives down emissions as you move towards that 2050 net zero target. But some investments in carbon capture, some agreements on methane targets, and a move to an industrial price away from a regulatory system, you're going to see the emissions cap, which the oil and gas sector, the premiers of Alberta, Newfoundland and Labrador, and Saskatchewan have vigorously complained about over the years, that is going to go if everybody agrees to other methods that allows them to hit their climate targets of a net zero economy by the mid part of this century. So a 10% reduction in the civil service over the next number of years. That's billions of spending in capital and tax incentives, Rosie.
Jobs.
The government says this will unlock about $1 trillion in capital investment. This is what they say is the generational transformation of this budget. We'll see.
Yeah.
It depends on a lot of things going right, including the major projects agenda.
Okay, we are going to dip back into the finance minister in a moment as soon as he starts speaking in English again. But let's just go through. I did want to just highlight this. I'm just catching up with where you've been all day. But there are social programs that the Prime Minister had promised would not be touched. And indeed, there are many things being protected. The Canada Child Benefit, the school food program, the disability benefit, old age security program, not surprisingly, $10 a day childcare being protected, workers benefit, the Canadian dental care plan also being protected. So some of those programs that were signature programs of the Trudeau government stick around.
But what's interesting is the shift in budgeting approach that's outlined here is going to make it very difficult to expand social programs that require the federal government to pay or the federal government to cost share, because they've adopted two new fiscal anchors in this budget. One is a declining deficit to GDP ratio over time, not debt to GDP ratio, Rosie, as we're used to in budgets, deficit to GDP ratio, but also that the operating side of the government ledger, direct program expenses, salaries, that is budgeted within 3 years. They'll keep spending and borrowing for capital investment, things that spur economic growth, but not for program expenses and salaries, which changes the whole thought process of the finance department and the cabinet. And that when you make a cabinet proposal to go in the budget now, it has to have a capital component and an economic spin-off component, unlocking private
Otherwise,
sector
it doesn't
investment. Programs are going to be difficult to do without also cutting something else to pay for something new.
So they project that they're going to save $60 billion over 5 years by reviewing what is in departments.
So this is essentially the job issue. You got to go to page, I believe, 212 of the budget for those following along at home. You're looking at essentially, they've been doing this workforce renewal and what they call the CER process, which is the cost efficiency review. And that was defined essentially 15% in every department that could either be eliminated or reprofiled or moved to another department. And it's not going to be a straight across the board 15% everywhere. Some departments are going to get hit harder than others in these changes. But what's interesting, Rosie, is that with the workforce reduction, they say they can do a lot of it. The 16,000 full-time equivalents in this year, decline of about 40,000 between 2028 and 2029. There's going to be an early retirement incentive for people, 50 and up in different groups. This is too complicated and long to get into here, but essentially you'll be able to go take your pension early without penalty if you qualify and hit these targets. So this is a way they're looking at reducing the size of the civil service without direct layoffs.
Okay, let's thank you so much for that, David. We'll take a minute and listen a little bit to the Minister of Finance and come back.
Investments needed for Canada's future. We chose a different path, Mr. Speaker, a path that believes in Canada, a path that invests in our country's future, a path that reinforces Canadian values, a path that makes us less resilient on our trading partner, a path that allows us to be master in our own house, Mr. Speaker. We chose Canada.
Close to bankrupt Canada is more like it.
This House will choose Canada as well, Mr. Speaker. I hope they will all choose Canada, parce que nous voulons tous et toutes être maîtres chez nous d'abord, Monsieur le Président.
We all believe in Canada, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, when our steel, aluminum, forestry, auto, and agriculture industries were hit by U.S. tariff and trade disruptions, we did not stand by and wait for the storm to pass. We stepped in with the most comprehensive set of trade resilience measures in Canadian history, because this is who we are as Canadians, Mr. Speaker. This is who we are. When times get tough, we stand together, because we are Canadian. The government launched...
Oh, my goodness.
The government launched the Strategic Response Fund that my colleagues have been leading, allocating $5 billion to help sectors impacted by tariffs to adapt, to diversify, and to grow. Businesses can use the fund to invest in the design of new products, retool plans to boost productivity, or offset the cost of accessing new markets, because we want our industry to succeed. We want them to be able to make this pivot, Mr. Speaker, because we believe in our workers, we believe in our industry, we believe in our future, we believe in Canada.
But he's running us dry.
Nous avons également mis en place un programme de liquidité d'1 milliard.
We have also introduced a $1 billion liquidity relief package to help small and medium-sized businesses, because these businesses help our great country
grow. Okay, that is a little bit of the finance minister delivering his speech to explain Budget 2025, which includes, yes, billions of dollars in spending, but also an attempt to rein in government spending by cutting 16,000 jobs in the public service this fiscal year. That's 4.5% of the workforce as of March 2025, and going up to a decline of about 40,000. 10%, I guess, from the peak at 2023-24. I'm going to bring in Sharon D'Souza. She's the national president of the Public Service Alliance of Canada. Nice to see you. Thank you for making the time. I know you're just sort of getting caught up here, and I'll bring David in because he's actually been reading it more than I have. As I am also getting caught up. But you were expecting cuts. Were you expecting numbers this big, 16,000 full-time positions?
Well, we were expecting cuts, and without a doubt, when the minister made the announcement that they're looking to go back to pre-pandemic numbers, when we looked at the juxtaposition, we're talking about 70,000 jobs. So we had an idea that there would be a cut, but I truly believe that these cuts are drastic. I believe that there should have been more work done and consultation done before such an announcement is made.
It does sound as though there will be, according to David, an attempt to push people towards retirement, attrition. Packages, I guess, will be offered to people without penalty. Does that soften the blow in any way?
Not at all, because who can retire in this economy? Let's be really honest. People are having a difficult time making ends meet. And in some cases, especially smaller communities, these federal public sector jobs are what keeps this economy going.
David, any questions for Sharon?
Yeah, I mean, there's a line here in the budget that says this is a transformational time for the public service to revisit how we work, how we can improve services to Canadians, and how we can build for the future. A leaner public service is a more empowered and productive public service. The net size of the workforce by the end of this process, according to the government, by 2028, 2029, will be about 330,000 employees. So a reduction of about 40,000 from peak. You mentioned a 70,000 number. This is 40, so it's not quite all the way. It's a little over half.
Well, there's a problem with just that number because we did our own polling. And what our polling has shown that the majority of the Canadians that we polled said, you know, that they would rather see this government focus on making their lives more affordable. And they're concerned about cuts to public services because 64% of them believe that they're already strained.
Right, but the public service did get large, particularly during the pandemic, and the government's point is this is bringing it back to a size that is more manageable, given that taxpayers are paying for the public service.
Without a doubt, but what they want is services right now when they are in a time of need. They truly believe that the services will be impacted by these cuts, and I have to say I agree with them. And my only concern is we have a lot of challenges coming our way. And when we're talking about transformation and this innovation that they want Canada to be in, it's great, but it's federal public sector workers who actually do that work. And so when we're talking about streamlining, we're talking about infrastructure, we're talking about transformative public services, this is great. But every department and agency actually connects with each other. And so right now, with the blanketed announcements, there needs to be more work done because when you cut one arm, guess what? It doesn't mean that work automatically transfers to another area.
One more thought from David.
No, you know, but in talking to officials inside the budget briefing, the lockup as we call it, that they held for journalists today, there was a concession that there's been a problem with execution on a lot of the infrastructure programs and other things that they wanted to do, that the public service, as large as it got, wasn't delivering on the execution of some of these programs. And I guess their view is that a leaner, more focused, with a fewer number of priorities could be more efficient. I mean, what's your rebuttal to that? Because I'm sure you're not going to agree.
Well, what I think is, I've been here before. I've been here under Harper. I've seen the public service be cut and chopped and dismantled. I've seen what happens when it doesn't work, and I've seen them staff up. And right now, just last year, I can say in 2024, 10,000 jobs have been cut. And guess what? We are not making our call center I guess you can say the phone calls aren't being answered because there's not enough people, and there's an impact on that, and they're hiring up again. And there's also mandatory overtime that's happening. So for me, when we're looking at a public service, you need to have the right people in the positions, but you need the bodies there. And these cuts, to me, could be seen as performative. Because if the services aren't being delivered and you don't have the bodies there, then what's next?
Okay. Sharon D'Souza, National President of the Public Service Alliance. I'm sure we'll speak again. Thank you for your initial thoughts on this. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, want to bring back David just to go over some of the points there that you flew through the first time.
Sure.
Let's go back to some of the spending measures in terms of how the government plans to attract capital investment and where they think that's going to come from.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things here, Rosie. There's about $280 billion in capital investments that they outline here. Some of this is carryover of measures like accelerated write-off of equipment purchases, computer upgrades that Chrystia Freeland had in her fall economic statement of December 16th, 2024, which got overshadowed by something else she wrote that day, being her resignation letter. But there is some expansion on that, and this is on the tax side. And Peter Armstrong will be here to get really deep into this later. But they are giving immediate expensing for manufacturing and processing buildings. So essentially, if you're getting into the critical minerals game, if you're getting into the extraction game and you need to build a building for processing, or if you need to retool, say, a car operation into a different type of operation, there's a tax incentive there that in a lot of cases will reduce the effective net tax on some of these things down to zero. There's also an accelerated capital cost allowance for low carbon liquefied natural gas facilities, which is interesting. In the first tranche of the major projects, you know, that is a key part of this whole economic plan from Mark Carney. There was some natural gas components to this. They're now having a lucrative tax incentive here for low carbon natural gas, and the lower your emissions, the higher the credit you get. And it's not based on a benchmark, it's based on how my LNG plant competes with your LNG plant for lower emissions, and you qualify then for the incentive. But it's a key thing, and Peter will explain this a little bit more, but on the manufacturing and processing side, this ability to write off the buildings you need to build for business expansion and write off the equipment that you need inside of it right away, it has the effect of lowering what's called the meter, the marginal effective tax rate, for manufacturing and processing to 0.4%. It's 12% in the United States. This is a competitive advantage they're hoping to get for the hard-hit manufacturing sector, where we've lost 30,000 jobs as a country, as an incentive to keep operations in Canada and maybe expand into some of the Canadian-only opportunities.
Okay, let's dip back in, if we can, to the House of Commons, where the Finance Minister is delivering his speech on Budget 2025, and we'll come back and speak more with David.
And I know, although the Conservatives are silent in their heart, they support that, Mr. Speaker. Because I know that they will take the break way to go around and tell their constituents how great we're going to see this country and all the investment we're going to see. Hear, hear. And I know in their heart I can see them.
Canada is one of the best places in the world to invest, and we are going to make it even better. This fiscal strength allows us to make historic investments, not only today, but also for future generations.
To Canadians who feel the strain of these times, our message is clear. We will not back down. We will be there for you now and for as long as it takes. We will do what Canadians do best in times of need. We look after one another. We help each other. That's the Canadian way. That's our way, Mr. Speaker.
That's the Canadian way.
Meeting this great challenge, Mr. Speaker, requires both ambition and discipline. We need to be ambitious in our investments and rigorous in our spending. And that's why this budget charts a new course for Canada's public finances. Because Canadians expect their government to achieve results. And to get there, we must spend
Okay,
less
we
on
are going to leave the finance minister as he continues his speech there inside the House of Commons. The Green Party leader, Elizabeth May, has already come out of the House to, of course, she represents one vote. One vote would matter if you're seeking for just 3 votes to get this budget passed. But she has already declared where she stands on the budget. Take a listen.
Oh, here we go.
Right now, would you vote no on the budget?
Absolutely. There's no way that we can, as Greens, vote yes on this budget. But I want to emphasize there are several days in which this budget can be negotiated and amended before it goes to a vote. And that's something that doesn't get discussed much. I am surprised that Mr. Carney has not reached out, or that more of his ministers haven't reached out to say, what would it take to get Greens to vote for this budget? In the same way I hear from friends in the New Democratic Party, they haven't felt that there's been an effort to get us on side early on. So we are now in a position where I think every vote's going to matter, every vote's going to count, and I would invite the Prime Minister, and I've sent this message through the officials who were with us in the lockup, please let them know I'd like to talk, because there's some things that could be done that would make it possible for us to vote for this budget. Nous sommes grands groupes.
Okay, so Elizabeth May, Green Party leader, of course, the only Green seat inside this iteration of the House of Commons, saying that as things stand now, she cannot support this budget, but says she's willing to talk. She's willing to negotiate further. Let's just go back, David, through what is, I want to come to the infrastructure moment, but just in terms of what is there for climate and what would be, I guess, the biggest problem for Liz May would be probably ending the oil and gas emissions cap. But
she said
to your point,
that
they
she
are
would
moving
not
to
support a
strengthen the
budget that has
industrial
anything positive for
carbon
oil and
pricing
gas.
system. So I'm
granddaughter.
speculating as to what would upset her there
She
the
said that
most,
a couple days ago.
they're putting all their eggs, if it were, into industrial carbon pricing rather than the hard cap, which had been causing problems for so many people in Alberta.
So it's an if-then scenario.
Right.
If the country can agree on develop a post-2030 carbon pricing trajectory, we can get to a point where you don't need the emissions cap. And this is something even champions of emissions reductions have said to the government, not to do an emissions cap, because you're bringing regulation into what they want as a pricing and market-driven solution. So essentially the plan is the government's going to sit down with the provincial and territorial governments and setting up a multi-decade industrial carbon price trajectory. Long-term certainty heading towards the net zero target by 2050. This is what all at the Conference of Partners, COP, they agreed to, is to get to a net zero economy by 2050.
But this only happens, they'll only get rid of the cap if this happens.
So this needs to happen. They need to agree to a stronger benchmark and backstop in that if, I don't know, Ontario falls below it, the government moves immediately, puts it in and lets everybody know, no, we're coming in, we've all agreed to this, let's go. Okay. If they agree to that, if they agree to movement on methane emissions, movement on the clean electricity regulations, because there's a series of tax credits that were announced in earlier budgets that are now implemented in this one that will give you tax write-offs for investing in clean electricity sources, moving away from fossil fuels. So if you can do the math.
Okay, so we know that the Green Party is not going to be supporting the budget. That's like set in stone. We know the Conservatives aren't, and it's very, very likely that the Bloc is not either.
Mr. Speaker, we will cut red tape, we will digitize services and make them faster, simpler, and easier to access.
We are encouraging the adoption of new technologies across government, including made in Canada sovereign AI tools through a new digital transformation office. Because, Mr. Speaker, we understand the potential of this digital transformation, and Canada will be both a global leader in this and in service delivery.
A more effective government that can deliver smarter, faster, and more effective services to Canadians. Since 2019, the federal public service population has grown at a rate which is far greater than the Canadian population, Mr. Speaker. We must get the size of our public service back to a sustainable level that is keeping with best practices. But as we are, Mr. Speaker, we will do that with fairness and compassion because we appreciate the work of every civil servant in this country. We appreciate their service. We appreciate their work. We value their contribution. Once we do that, Mr. Speaker, we will make our tax system fairer. Third, we need clear fiscal anchors to provide the predictability and clarity to the world and to Canadians. We will balance day-to-day operating spending with revenues by 2028, 2029, shifting the budget towards investments that grow the economy. Mr. Speaker, this is a pivotal moment in Canada's history. We're going to make sure that the dollar that people entrust in us will be invested to grow Canada. We will maintain a declining deficit to GDP ratio, ensuring that the discipline today while investing in our collective future.
The measures proposed in Budget 2025 put us on the right path to achieve our investment goals. Mr. Speaker, we will create a business environment that attracts an unprecedented flow of private capital into the energy, infrastructure, housing, and defense sectors. Mr. Speaker, this budget is one of investment, generational investment, for this generation and future generations. Mr. Speaker, this is because we believe in Canada. Our investments will focus on our economic success and focus on productivity, because productivity means doing more with less, because that's the best way we can improve the lifestyles of Canadians. The 2025 budget will not only accelerate construction in housing and infrastructure, but across the country. It will also strengthen Canada's position as a fiscally competitive jurisdiction and one of the best places in the world to invest.
Canada is a great place to invest, but together with Budget 2025, we're going to make it even greater, Mr.
This is kind of scary, folks.
Canada is the place to be. Canada is the place to invest. Canada is the place to grow, Mr. Speaker. And we're proud to serve Canadians. Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, budgets are not about doing everything. They're about what's necessary and doing it well. We're putting forward a firm, fair, and results-driven plan, the kind of reform Canadians are asking for and the kind that's always served our country well.
Plan will invest $280 billion over 5 years in capital to strengthen Canada's productivity, competitiveness, and resilience. Wow. On a cash basis, this is an historic investment of $450 billion, Mr. Speaker, in Canada. We believe in Canada. We believe in Canadians. We believe in our workers. We believe in our future, Mr. Speaker.
These generational investments will drive growth in every region, Mr. Speaker, and create good middle-class jobs, the kind of jobs that allow young people and families to plan for the future with confidence.
Our generational investment will focus on 4 key priorities. Housing, to restore affordability and opportunity. Infrastructure, to connect Canadians and accelerate growth. Defense and security, to protect our sovereignty and our communities. Productivity and competitiveness, to lead and make Canada an innovation powerhouse, the innovation powerhouse of the 21st century.
And these are not abstract priorities. They are the foundations of a stronger, more ambitious and competitive Canada, because we believe in Canada. Mr. Speaker, our task now is to turn
further down the road
our fiscal strength into national purpose. For generations, together, Canadians have undertaken major projects that have connected our regions, energized our industries, and defined our identity. for more than 1 century, Mr. Speaker.
The Economy Act adopted last June continues that tradition, a very proud tradition. It removed barriers to internal trade, accelerate approvals for major projects, and strengthens the economic union that binds our province and territories together. We are completing the unfinished work of Confederation, Mr. Speaker. We are going to complete the unfinished work of Confederation, ensuring that wherever a product is made in Canada, it can be sold in Canada, where trade and opportunity flow freely across provincial lines. Mr. Speaker, this is about Canada. If you build something in one part of the country, you ought to be able to sell it across the country, because we believe in Canada. Bonne nouvelle,
Good news, our government won't stop there, but also launch the next generation of nation-building projects. Highways, airstrips, ports, electrical grids, and digital corridors will define the next century of Canadian growth. And thanks to these investments, we will connect regions, strengthen supply chains across the country, and create hundreds of thousands of high-paying jobs in every region of this big country.
Structure Fund, Mr. Speaker, will expand possibilities and opportunities like never before in Canada's north, Mr. Speaker. We should all be proud as Canadian. We're going to make historic investment in Canada's north. This is a great moment for the country. Infrastructure in communities all across Canada with the new Build Communities Strong Fund, Mr. Speaker. As we build million more homes, we'll need infrastructure like roads to build new neighborhoods. This fund will help build that. New neighborhoods will lead to new communities across our country that will want recreational and athletic center. This fund will help build that. Wow. And the new communities will need new hospital. This fund will help build that. This fund will build Canada strong. This fund will build our community strong. This fund will build Canada strong, Mr. Speaker. And something I'm very proud of, and I think the Prime Minister would join me in that, we will do all this by being our own best customer to the new Buy Canadian policy. It's about time that we put Canadian suppliers first.
And by doing so, in this fashion, you are trying to bankrupt the country. So you can have the moment now, be proud, yeah, Canada's investing in itself, but at a cost, a very expensive cost.
When the government buys, Canadian suppliers will be our first choice whenever possible. Full stop. Because we believe in Canada. We will use
steel made by our workers in Hamilton and Sault Ste. Marie.
We will use aluminum cast in Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, Bécancour, and Kitimat. And we will use softwood lumber cut in Thunder Bay, Prince George, and even in my region of Latuque.
Workers, we will support our country. We will support our industry.
Mr. Speaker, I'll give you an example. Yesterday in Saint-Tite, a small rural city in my riding, I visited Boulay Boots, a family business that has been making boots since 1933. I even had the opportunity to build part of the shoes that I'm proudly wearing today with the help of many skilled workers. A reminder of the craftsmanship and pride that make the Canadian manufacturing industry so strong. Mr. Speaker, the shoes I proudly wear today are the same ones worn by our CMP officers.
conservative would wish they would have a pair too. Mr. Speaker, these shoes have been made in Canada by Canadian for Canadians. That's the way to go, Mr. Speaker. That's how you build a Canada strong. C'est tout le sens.
And that's what Buy Canadian is all about. Good jobs, resilient communities, and pride in what we're building together.
It's all about good jobs. It's all about resilient communities in our cities and in rural communities across our nation. And this is about pride in what we build, pride in Canada, pride in our workers. That's how you build a strong country. Mr. Speaker, Canada has a legacy of builders. We are a nation of builders. That same spirit of building at home has defined Canada for generations. We have done this before. Back in 1945, just after the war, Canada had to do big things. A so-called, at the time, Minister of Everything, the great CDL banked on the boundless potential of Canada to make big change in our country. He was not afraid to bet big on Canadians. Neither we are, Mr. Speaker, because we believe in Canada. This budget is guided by the strong conviction that Canada must remain a nation of builders, of infrastructure and of innovation, of trust in public institutions and hope for generations to come. This nation knows how to build. We built the Canadian Pacific Railway in 1885, allowing our country to be connected from coast to coast and supporting trade across the prairies. We built the St. Lawrence Seaway, more recently in 1959, creating a deep water route from the Great Lakes to the Atlantic Ocean. Et plus récemment, nous avons construit les...
And recently, we built the James Bay Hydroelectric Facility in 1985, providing abundant clean energy to power Canadian industries and enabling Canada to become one of the world's top producers of renewable hydroelectric energy. Mr. Speaker.
Of Canada, that's why we want to build a Canada strong together. Each generation has taken on its share of the work and left the next generation stronger for it. We will do it again because we believe in Canada. Hear, hear. With planned investment of $115 billion in infrastructure over 5 years, we will meet the moment. That's what Canadians expect from their government. They know what's going on. They want us to meet the moment, and we'll meet that moment. And we will build the backbone of Canada's next economy. Our task is simple, but it's profound. To turn plans into projects, to turn projects into careers, and to turn careers into prosperity, Mr. Speaker. That's what we are committed to do. That's what we will do with Canadians across the nation. And to do so, we will do that in a way that protects our future, that also protect our nature, and also protect our core values. Building a true partnership with Indigenous people whose stewardship and knowledge of the land continue to guide us today. Because we do not just build for ourselves. Because we do not build just for ourselves, we build for those who will follow us. I'm often reminded of the 7th-generation principle. Rooted in Indigenous teachings, a reminder that every decision we take must consider its impact on future generations. Mr. Speaker, we will build Canada strong, but we will build with Canadian values.
Mr. Speaker, a strong country invests not only in its economy, but also in its identity. Over the past year, Canadians have shown what Canada is truly made of. When global uncertainty tested us, we looked to each other. People asked where their food was grown and chose to buy from local farmers and producers. Families traveled across the country and rediscovered its beauty from coast to coast to coast. Communities rallied around Canadian businesses, creators, and workers. That, Mr. Speaker, is what it means to be Canadian, to stand up for one another, to build together, and to take pride in what we make, grow, and create here at home. That is what it means to be Canadian, Mr. Speaker, and that is why we are here to defend Canada. We are a bilingual, diverse, and compassionate country, shaped by reconciliation, equality, and respect. Mr. Speaker, we believe in a strong Canada. Mr. Speaker, our government is investing heavily to help Canadians get ahead.
I think this is something that speaks to everyone. Every young people in the country, every family around the country, everyone listening today. Canada faces a steep housing supply gap that has threatened affordability. And our minister has been doing great work to make sure we have more supply and continue to do so. We need to make sure that, Canadians across the nation can find a home. And because when they find a home, this is the best way to build their lives. And therefore, we want to be there for them. Budget 2025 is, Mr. Speaker, the most ambitious housing plan since the Second World War. This is what we're delivering for Canadians. The moment calls for it, and we are meeting the moment, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister has been clear. We need to build in this country. We need to build faster. We need to build bigger. We need to build now. We need to build Canada strong. We have put in this budget record investment of $13 billion over 5 years in our flagship home building initiative, the Build Canada Homes. And I'm sure Canadians across the country understand that, because this will be making sure that we build at speed and scale that we have not seen in generations. And we will build, Mr. Speaker, we will double the pace of housing construction over the next decade, while we create a new industry, when we will be using Canadian technology, Canadian workers, and Canadian lumber. We will use Canadian workers to build Canada with Canadian material. This is what we're going to do, Mr. Speaker, because we believe in Canada. And we will improve affordability and create careers in the skilled trades. Because as we build this country, Mr. Speaker, young people will see that the dream they have of home ownership will become within reach again. That's what we want to do for future generation, because you know what? Every home built is a step toward a more affordable and a more confident Canada.
Mr. Speaker, affordability isn't just about housing. It's about making life easier for Canadians and reducing everyday costs while protecting the programs families depend on. Canadians elected us to take bold action to help them improve their quality of life quickly.
And we will continue to do. The very first thing that this Prime Minister did for Canadians was to cut tax for 22 million Canadians. That is the first thing we did. First thing we did. And then we brought down gas prices by 18 cents per liter when we canceled the consumer carbon price. Yes. See, even the conservatives are cheering, Mr. Speaker. And they should be cheering about that as well, because we made permanent the National School Food Program. Helping 100,000 children each year. I know in the heart they support it, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker,
we launched automatic federal benefits, reaching 5.5 million low-income Canadians to ensure that no one gets left behind. We are going to strengthen competition in the telecommunications and banking sectors in order to drive down costs.
These are practical measures that make life more affordable today and build confidence in tomorrow. Because when Canadians can afford a home, when Canadians can raise a family, when Canadians can plan for the future, our entire country grows stronger. Because
prosperity is only meaningful when it's shared and when all Canadians can see themselves in the promise of this country.
Budget is that every Canadian should feel that there's something for them. Because it's not only about today, it's about future generation. It's about building for them. It's about making sure that we'll have a very strong country for generations to come. And as the Prime Minister has said, there can be no prosperity without security. Let me repeat, there can be no prosperity without security. And Mr. Speaker, in that vein, I am sure that every member, and I will look across the aisle and I look in the eyes of every member of this House, every member in this House would agree that we do need to protect our people, our communities, and our country. Every Canadian expects every member of this House to be there for them. To security and our sovereignty, Mr. Speaker, we all should be rising and defend what we're proposing. Because, Mr. Speaker, a confident nation that protects its sovereignty at home and its interest abroad through strength, stability, and partnership with allies, we share our values. This is what we're doing, Mr. Speaker.
And with $30 billion over 5 years, Budget 2025 represents the largest defense investment in decades.
Mr. Speaker, yes, let's share our people. I have even more good news, Mr. Speaker. 2% NATO commitment this year. We will modernize NORAD. We will reinforce our Arctic defense, and we will equip our brave men and women of the Canadian Armed Forces with the infrastructure and technology that they need to safeguard our nation. And we will do that because we believe in Canada. Defense Investment Agency and Defense Industrial Strategy, we will build up Canada's defense industry, strengthening Canadian businesses and supporting Canadian workers and creating good union jobs, Mr. Speaker, across our country. Our work on defense will strengthen Canadian Research Centre. It will strengthen Canadian communities in the North, working with our Inuit and First Nation partners across our country, by building dual-use infrastructure like ports and runways to make sure that every community, when we invest, can benefit, Mr. Speaker.
Our plan will create new jobs for engineers, technicians, and scientists in sectors like aerospace, shipbuilding, cybersecurity, and AI. We're going to hire 1,000 new Border Services officers and 1,000 new RCMP officers to secure our borders and keep our communities safe. Finally, by investing in law enforcement and justice reform, we will tackle organized crime, gun violence, and auto theft. We're also going to invest and continue with passion and determination, as my colleague, the minister responsible, is doing, the important work with the provinces and territories to end gender-based violence. My colleague is working hard on that, and we are going to support her. we are going to keep supporting her.
Because every Canadian should feel safe, Mr. Speaker. And I want to commend the leadership of my colleague. She's extraordinary. She knows who she is, but I cannot pronounce her name in the House. But she knows who she is because she's been there and leading the way, Mr. Speaker, to make sure that, we invest and that we continue the important work across our nation. Alors que nous établissons des...
As we strengthen our security partnerships, it's essential that we also deepen our economic partnerships. In order to build a stronger future, we have to increase trade, innovate faster, and play a leadership role in clean and conventional energy. Mr. Speaker, trade has always been one of Canada's strengths, connecting our population, our resources, and our industries to the rest of the world. But too much of that trade depends on a single partner.
We are launching a trade diversification strategy supported by a Trade Diversification Corridors Fund to expand Canada's reach, double our overseas export within a decade, which will unlock $300 billion in new opportunities for Canadian business and Canadian workers. This is good news if you're a small and medium-sized business. This is good news if you're an exporter. This is good news because now you see we're going to expand our market. We're going to bring what Canada has to offer to the world.
We are going to strengthen ports, railways, and ports of entry. We will reduce bottlenecks, and we will open faster routes to global markets. Because when Canadian businesses are competitive and successful abroad, Canadian workers and communities prosper right here at home.
Mr. Speaker, Canada, I think we can agree on, all of us can agree on that, is the best place to live. Canada is the best place to live. And it's the reason why top talent from around the world want to come here, because they see opportunities and possibilities to contribute to cutting-edge research in our country. With our flagship international talent attraction strategy of more than $1.7 billion, we will make sure that the best and brightest continue to choose Canada to innovate, to invent, and to grow our industry, Mr. Speaker. The best and brightest will come here in Canada.
All right. Shit budget, $80 billion approximately. It's the biggest investment Canada's ever done into itself, and we are on the verge of bankruptcy. You have some conservative MPs, one in particular, the old House Speaker for the Conservatives, who is thinking about crossing the line to Liberals, and there's also rumors of a couple other Conservatives that are thought of doing the same thing. So even if the Conservatives and other opposition parties vote down this budget, we may not even need an election if Conservatives are literally just going to join the Liberals and give them a majority government. So the state of Canada is very shitty right now if you're a Conservative or if you're just not a Liberal. And yeah, it's not super good news. This is where I'm going to end it. I think I'm still jet lagged coming back from Hawaii, man. I'm burnt. That's why I keep going off camera. I'm absolutely burnt. So I'm going to hop off. We'll be back same time tomorrow for question period. I literally am falling asleep. Not like figuratively, like I'm like dozing off. Partly because it's so boring, but also just because of the timing in my life and this big trip that I'd done. So anyways, not good news if you're looking for the summary. Not good news at all. And we still haven't heard from Pierre Poilievre. Like, he wasn't in the House today. I don't know what the hell's going on with Pierre. I don't see his head when they show the Conservative bench, because they're not showing the front of the bench. They're just showing the back. I don't know where the hell Pierre Poilievre is. I don't know where the Conservatives are. I don't know what the hell's going on. But I'm falling asleep. There's no vote happening today. They're not voting on anything. No, there's no vote today. There's no vote today. There's nothing. They're just tabling the budget. There's no vote. I was under the impression there was a vote. It's going to happen later in the week or next week or some shit. I don't know. It's all messed up. Anyways, We are cooked. We're absolutely cooked, and I'm fried right now. I'm so fucking tired. Peace and love. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Oh my God. I'm going to fall asleep. Okay.